Okay, so I think we're live. I'm just
Are we
gonna
live?
just hang on. I'm gonna check. I think we are. Yep,
The yellow live button is on.
yep. So I'm just gonna get the chat set up again as usual. And okay, hey everybody, Jace here once again for a very special live stream today. I've been planning this one for a long, long time. So I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite series of all time. That is James Bond. And I'm with a very special guest today. We've been planning this for months and it's finally happening. So welcome, Aaron Pynn, or the Professor, as we like to call you, because of your
Thank
movie
you.
knowledge.
My movie knowledge. Well, this is where I'm going to bow to you when it comes to this. You're more the Bondian expert than me, so I'm just going to. I just really like the movies.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about Bond. We're going to start off like how we got into the series, like early memories, and then we're going to go through a lot of the movies and maybe at the end sort of have a joint kind of ranking. We'll see what happens, but this is all Bond related. So, as you can see, I've got my shirt as well. Roger Moore there, my second favorite Bond. So, it's basically like a Bond trivia tonight, guys. So, if you've got any questions related to Bond in the chat, let me or Aaron know, and I'm going to be answering them. So, just great to have you here, man. And so, first question to you really is, how did you get into Bonds?
Actually, it probably was the books before the movies.
Mm-hmm.
When I was I've always been a voracious reader. When I was really young, I lived in a small town, like a really
Right.
small town. So one of the ways, we had this little library, and my cousin, my older cousin, she would get me a book every year for Christmas. And one year she got me, I think it was Goldfinger? No, it was Casino Royale and Goldfinger. She got me those two.
Yep. Casino Royale, I
So
think, was the first one, wasn't it? First book, Ian Fleming, I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started reading it, and she actually thought it was kind of inappropriate because some of the stuff in the in the books, some of it made over to the films, but not everything, right? Especially when you got into Goldfinger and Pussy Galore and all those
Exactly,
characters.
all the characters.
But yeah, so that's how I got into it there. But my first James Bond movie was probably not in the theater; it was on TV, and it was probably one of the Sean Connery ones. I think it was From Russia with Love. I think that's the first one I saw.
Right.
First one in theater was definitely Roger Moore one because I'm not that old. So Roger Moore was my first Bond in theater
Right.
experience.
Nice.
What about you?
Yeah, for me, it was basically my dad, because my dad, like me, was a big movie collector. So he used to collect all the VHS of the Bond movies. And when I was probably I'd say about 7, 8, something like that, I was first shown Goldfinger. That was my very first Bond movie that I ever watched on the big VHS clamshell. And he had a lot of them. He basically, I think, had nearly all the Bond movies up to that point. And I just kept watching him and kept really entertained. And it was just really interesting. And I don't know. I just fell in love with the character straight away. I found there was humor in there, but it was also seriousness. And as you get older, I think your taste of the Bond movies change. But yeah, I just really enjoyed watching them and rewatching them all the time. I think my first theater Bond movie would have been The World Is Not Enough. That was back in 1999. So I was only 9 years old. So that
Oh
was my
wow, I
first
feel
Bond
old.
movie. Yes. So, yeah, I first saw that, and then since then I've seen every Bond movie at the cinema. So, Die Another Day, and then the Daniel Craig series, of course, as well. So, and one of the first early memories also was in I think grade 7. Me and my friend were huge Bond fans. We kind of had a competition to see who would watch all of them first up to that point again. So I was racing away when I got home that weekend to watch all the Bond movies and say I've seen all of them before you, kind of thing. So yeah, it was just a great series, and that's how I've got into it. And I basically can say it's now my favorite series of all time. So, and as you said, I've kind of got into the novels a little bit more recently as I've grown up. The Ian Fleming novels, they're quite interesting, actually. I've read probably about 6 or 7 of them. So, yeah.
I really liked John Gardner when he took over for the Bond novels. Now, my first James Bond movie, because I did look it up to see which one was I just was talking. We were talking about to which one that I did see first, and it's
Yep.
actually probably one of the ones people hate the most. The first one I saw in theater was Moonraker.
Oh,
So
well,
that
we're
was my
going to talk.
first James Bond theater
Yeah.
experience.
Star Wars inspiration. Yeah. I mean, as I said, guys, we're going to talk about through the series because, yeah, Moonraker is an interesting one. I've had sort of a love-hate relationship with Moonraker, but we'll get onto that in a minute. But yeah, that's cool. So you basically saw Like everything from Moonraker each time you went to the movies?
Yeah, like I've seen everyone since Moonraker in the
Right.
theater. So
That's great.
I don't think no, yeah, I haven't missed one. Like from right now to the up to date Daniel Craig thing, I've seen everything from like 78 on up into the theater. And with The Spy Who Loved Me, which came just before Moonraker,
Yep.
he actually showed that later on. So I got to see that one. And we did a digital film festival like a few years back, and I got to see like Thunderball and Under Majesty's Secret Service in the theater then as well,
Hmm.
which was really good because one of those is my favorite actually.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get, as I said, we're gonna get into that as well. But yeah, as I said, it's one. It's funny. It's a franchise. It's one of the long-lasting franchises, isn't it? It's 50. It's well past 50 years old now, and you don't see that a lot with franchises, do you? So, what do you think has sort of kept it going, the Bond franchise? Like, because a lot of franchises come and go, but the Bond one just keeps going, and obviously Daniel Craig, I think he's doing his last one, and there'll be probably a new Bond after that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think keeps it going?
I think the simplest thing, and it's what people tend to get wrong when it comes to a lot of franchises, is Bond has a basic formula, has a simple formula, and I find that when even in the ones where like we're updating, we're doing a new thing, they're really secretly keeping that basic formula there. They're hitting all those beats. There's
Mm-hmm.
one movie that didn't do it, and we know what it is, but for the rest of them, like it pretty much did that. When you see a franchise usually go off the rails, it's when they forget where it came from.
Yeah.
The Broccoli's have been really careful about saying, okay, this is Bond. There's this, there's this, there's this, there's this, and there's this. There's always, the action's always there. The attractive girls are always there.
Yep.
You've got the music, and the thing is, they make a media event out of it. So basically, when a Bond movie comes out, it's not just okay. There's a new Bond movie coming out, but okay, what's the new Bond song going to be? Who's the new
Exactly.
Bond girl going to be? So there's that hype machine. That's even before the movie came out. So no matter what the movie is, even Moonraker, right, has has a good song with Shirley Bassey. It's definitely got like I like the villain too, but it's got like Lois Charles, right, as the
Lewis Charles, yep, as Holly Goodhead, yep.
yeah, and it's the thing, and the name. So there's all these things, and you remember them, and no matter if it's the Daniel Craig ones or not, every one of them has that.
Exactly, it has that formula, and I kind of like how Broccoli and the producers of it now really are protective of it. I think that's a great thing, to be protective of the franchise, because if it wasn't, it could have gone, maybe even disappeared a long time ago. So I'm really happy they're doing that, and who knows what's going to happen in the future, whether there's been always talks about a female Bond, or maybe a different kind of Caucasian Bond, or black Bond, African American Bond, or who knows what's going to happen. But I really look forward to that. So, what would be who's your favorite Bond in the series, the actor wise, and
actor wise?
From there.
I go back and forth. I mean, the best actor that ever played Bond, not the best Bond, but the best actor to play Bond is Dalton. He's the best actor. But is he the best Bond? No, he's not. He's just the best actor. And he's the closest to the books.
Exactly. But, I was about to say that. Yep.
Because he's got the harshness that nobody has. The best overall Bond is, like, even though he didn't get the best movies, was still Brosnan. He could have been, with the right writing, he could have been the perfect Bond. Yeah. But my favorite Bond is Moore, probably. Like I go back and forth between like Sean Connery and Roger Moore, and I love I love the films of Sean Connery, love the iconicness of him, but Roger Moore just has. Some people say he's just playing the saint as Bond, but I just think that he brought more of himself to the role.
Yes,
and not everybody, like a lot of them tried to play Bond, and he played the character of Bond, but Roger Moore, I think, maybe took it more to heart. Like he played it he was obviously the oldest person to be Bond.
That's right.
But he also was the one person that I think really cared. Like Sean Connery, first Bond, great Bond, fantastic. But Sean Connery got tired of Bond really fast.
He lost
like
interest.
Daniel Craig right now.
Yep, exactly.
Roger Moore never lost interest, I don't think. I don't think he ever really lost any interest in doing the role. He just realized he's a little bit too old to do it.
Yeah,
but he's the one guy that I think like really just unabashedly loved doing the role.
You're right. Well, he brought. I mean, if you look at all the Bonds, they all bring a different elements to it. I mean, you start with Sean Connery, kind of the more serious, more action, physical side. Roger Moore is probably the more gentleman, campy side, more comedic, I guess you could say. There's probably only one moment, I think it's in The Man with the Golden Gun, where he sort of slaps around the girl. You never see that in a Roger Moore film. It's always in like Sean Connery or even Daniel Craig, but Roger Moore hated doing that scene too. I remember he was saying in one of the special features he did not like that because he actually didn't like guns either. He wasn't, imagine that, Bond not liking guns. So, yeah, he hated doing that. And, yeah, you could see the later movies of his, like Octopussy, View to Kill, even Moonraker, they're all very comedic in some ways. They're not to be taken seriously, and that's what they're fun, you know. They're not, but a lot of people have problems with those. There's either two types of Bond movies, the serious ones or comedic ones, and I kind of like both. You know, both can be done well. So, as I said, there's Sean Connery did serious, Roger Moore comedic. George Lazenby, well, it's hard to know his style being a fellow Aussie because he only did one, but
Yeah.
he wasn't really an actor. He was a model and a car salesman. I think I told you to, probably in the comments a while ago, he actually did a really cool documentary last year. It was called Becoming Bond, and it was basically a whole backstory of him becoming Bond. Sort of an actor played him in the little... It was almost like a TV movie, and
Oh, cool.
it was really interesting to see like what happened and like how he put down all that money after the On Her Majesty's Secret Service. He just had enough, basically, and I think he still regrets it because you see him later on in the movie, actual him getting interviewed, and I think he still has a lot of regrets, as you would, because he knew he would have made millions. So George Lazenby, I mean, he was trying. It's pretty hard to come after Sean Connery, I guess. So I think he was trying to be a bit physical and serious, but it didn't come across that well. As you said, Timothy Dalton, closest to Ian Fleming. And again, I love his little serious tones. Again, I don't think he got to explore his sort of Bond character enough because he only did 2 movies. I think it takes, if you probably noticed, I think Sean Connery and Roger Moore, they both took a couple of movies before they really got into that role of their style. I mean, Goldfinger, to me, is Sean Connery's best. On The Spy Loved Me is probably Roger Moore's best if you're looking at it at that technical sort of view. So there's that. And then Pierce Brosnan, I think he had a good blend of both. He had kind of the comical little quips, but then he could play the serious man as well, as you saw in GoldenEye and even The World's Not Enough. So, yeah, they all did that. And Daniel Craig, he's definitely very serious. It's all like physical. Yeah. And I think that just goes with the times. We're in the 2018 now. So, you know, it's not going to work, the whole comical little thing that Roger Moore did. So they have to have it serious. Just looking at the chat here. Brian's in here. So Kubrick's Lover's here. Paul, Leroy. So everyone's here. Brian just says Roger Moore was his favorite. I grew up with him. Okay. He also says The Spy Loved Me, my favorite Roger Moore Bond. On Her Majesty's Secret Service and Goldfinger, my favorite Sean Connery one. Well, On Her Majesty's Secret Service was George Lazenby, Brian. But yeah, nice. I pretty much agree with that. So, as I said, wrapping that little part about it is all the Bonds have different elements, and I think you can, as a fan, appreciate all of them. So that's that.
I do have to say, I do think that Daniel Craig did do one tribute to Roger Moore in Bond, and that was more so like that was the last one. And I think some people kind of were bothered by it, and I was, thank God, he's been so drolly serious. Like all of a sudden, we got like Batista as a villain type character, and it's getting more on like there's a lot more humor injected into the last one, Spectre.
I agree.
Now they're going back. They said they're going back around to circle back to the quantum thing again. So okay.
Yeah, we're going to get onto quantum very briefly, and we're not going to talk about it too much either because I don't like that one.
That's a bad one. It's just a bad movie.
Yeah. But, yeah, you're right. I think it was because it was strange because Skyfall was really popular, even with non-Bond fans. That did really well. But Spectre, it just didn't do well. You speak to people like, what do you think of Spectre? Bond fans, what do you think of Spectre? It's always in like the middle to lower end of their rankings. You know, it's not... Yeah. And I thought it was really good. I've watched it a couple of times. Christoph Waltz was Blofeld. I thought it was pretty good. Like, I understand where some people didn't like his character and the direction it went, but I thought it was okay. I can see why people are also worried about the next one because I heard the female who played Bond in Spectre, I think the French actress, she's also going to be in the next one. So are they going to do like a on a Emergency Secret Service thing where
Of course they are.
he falls into a relationship or gets married again, and then somehow Christoph Waltz comes back and revenges or whatever. That's looking something like that. I don't know.
They kind of telegraphed that, though. He literally quits at the end of Spectre to be with this girl, who, by the way, I've seen in Blue is the Warmest Color about 80 times. Because good movie, guys. And
Criterion.
Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't kill him. And it's just like saying, so he's going to stay James Bond, become James Bond, the agent again, because, he's going to kill this girl. This is his Tracy, basically.
Yeah, basically. And
because you're at the end of the movie and you can tell that. And I think some people were maybe a bit like peeved even that it's that telegraphed. But, maybe they'll go somewhere different with it. They are going to obviously do another actor as Bond, and maybe are they going to reboot it again? I'm not sure.
I think that's their plan. I mean, because Daniel Craig, he keeps saying, he was after Spectre, I'm done with the role. But I think you got to understand, Bond now is a very physical role. He's doing a lot of the stunts himself, some of them anyway, and it takes its toll. So I think that interview was kind of taken out of context a little bit as well. But you can see, I can see it in his face, even when he does get interviewed about Bond. He's getting over it. He's kind of like Sean Connery after Thunderball, So it would be interesting if they had someone like, I know John Steele, who may be rewatching, hopefully he is. I think he said Idris Elba would be an interesting choice, sort of have a different African, he's a British actor, but, Black Bond. What do you think of that?
I would love Idris Elba about 5 or 10 years ago. That's the problem. Idris Elba, now he's physical now, and he definitely is in way better shape than me. So you can definitely do the role, but would he want to do it in like 4 to 5 movies, or is Idris Elba a 2-movie Bond type of
Timothy Dalton? Yeah,
exactly. Maybe. So, like I definitely, he was like top of my pick for a long time.
Yeah.
But as the years go on, I can see him not wanting to do it. One, he just got out of the whole Marvel universe, and he was not so big on the franchising with that. Luther is going to be ending soon, and he definitely is going to have his pick. But right now, there's like a lot of actors they could pick, and I know they could choose. I want them to do it like if they want to go for like a different type of Bond, and I really don't care as long as the formula stays there.
Exactly.
It'd be interesting to see what they do. I don't think they'll go with a female Bond.
No, I think I heard somewhere the producers, the two that are really much in charge, have already said, we're not doing that. We're not going down that route. Because, I mean, you've already seen enough movies going down that route already. You've seen the Ghostbusters do that. Ocean's 8 do that. I don't think they're going to do that with this character. I'd be very surprised if they did.
I figure like the biggest thing, like even before all that happened, for them not doing this, is they set up for like a Bond spin-off girl character like a while back. And obviously Halle Berry, like that didn't happen. So, they could still be feeling a little burnt with that as well.
Exactly.
Because, the whole Jinx character that was supposed to have her own series of movies, and that never happened. And they have, they have like a female character right now that they can use to do her own films. And without changing anything at all. And that's Moneypenny. Because this Moneypenny, she's young, she kicks ass, she's attractive, she can shoot except for the time she shoots Bond. So do something with Moneypenny, spin her off. But as for a Bond, there's a few people that people mention. People always mention Luke Evans. They'll mention characters like that. What's his name? Dan Stevens, right?
Dan Stevens from The Guest, who I think is a really worthy choice because I mean, if you've seen that movie. He's British, of course, but he's got the physical. He can do the meanness, but I think he's got a bit of comical in there as well. I think he'd be a really good blend, to be honest with you. I'd go for him.
That's who I choose. I don't like some people say Tom Hiddleston and stuff like that. I'm like, no,
it doesn't have the look.
Yeah, but like Dan Stevens, he has all the physicality and he has the look, and he's younger, so they can actually kind of go with him for a few movies.
Build like a little. Almost mini franchise over him with the next sort of era or whatever. So I think that's a good choice. I mean, people threw Tom Hardy around for a while, but again, is he a man that's going to now do 4 or 5? I don't think so. He's not that sort of actor. He's sort of goes in franchises, maybe does a couple. He's not there for the long haul, and he's getting older too. Like, that's the thing you got to think about when you're choosing a Bond actor now. It's not the present, it's also the future, because these movies don't come out every year. They come out 3, 4, 5 years. Look how long this one's taking. 2020, so 5 years since Spectre. So, which is frustrating for someone like me, and probably you as well. Just so excited, but then because of I don't know if you heard what happened with the new Bond film, the director. Pulled out, and then they've got a new director, and now recently they've just been naming who's in it. So we've got M back, Ralph Fiennes is back, Q, I think it's Ben Whistleshaw or something like that. The Moneypenny's back, and then obviously the French actress is back as well. So, and I don't know if they're trying to get. I think they're trying to get Christoph Waltz back. I don't know if he's going to be a side villain or whatever, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to.
They want to announce Waltz. Like, Waltz will be like, I think he'll be in it, but I don't think they'll announce him. I think he'll be the surprise.
Surprise, yeah.
Yeah, surprise.
Yep. So that's where we're. So at the moment, guys, in the chat, because I know you guys are still talking. Brian's really talking a lot. We're going to get to you, Brian, in a sec, because I'm going to take us back to Dr. No and start from there. Obviously, Dr. No came out in 1962, I believe. And yeah, so 50-something years ago, and very interesting movie. So what do you think of Dr. No for a start, for a vanilla Bond, I guess you could say?
I think it stands pretty well the test of time. I mean, like, all the tropes don't hit to Goldfinger, but Dr. No is still fun. The thing with the Bond franchise, and I think one of the things that makes it last so well, is it doesn't get so steeped in the culture that's going on at the time, so that it actually makes it kind of timeless. It makes the films kind of timeless to watch. It does the opposite of what Nightmare on Elm Street did.
Yeah, exactly.
So it puts it in a place where it could be anytime, anywhere type thing, basically. And I think they did good with that. I like the. I guess in today's culture, the villain could be questionable because it's what do they call the whitewashing thing now?
Yeah.
But back then, that was kind of the way that casting was done, and it wasn't originally like, I know Christopher Lee was bandied about for that, but for some reason I guess he couldn't do it, but he did. He went into it later on, but no, I like it. I think it doesn't have when I think of Dr. No, I never really like the theme song. I'm like, is that Three Blind Mice?
Yeah, that's right, because it starts off the Monty Norman, which is the iconic Bond, and it gets into this Three Blind Mice little song. Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange how they did that. I'm not sure why they did that.
It's the second worst Bond theme song, but it's still a great Bond movie.
Yeah,
and Ursula Andress, like she just sets the tone for all the Bond girls to come.
Exactly, Ursula Andress coming out of that water. That's one of the most iconic scenes in Bond girl history. And obviously you got Dr. No, Joseph Wiseman, who I thought was a really solid villain. To start off the series like that, I thought he was great. And then you sort of get introduced to Spectre and you obviously down the road, you're going to get more information about that. And yeah, I think it's a very solid, hang on, I got a little message here. Sorry about that. I think it's a very solid Bond movie. It's not one for me that I go back to all that often. I think it's only when I sort of, rewatch the whole series as a whole that I probably start with it, but I don't go back to that one as much. I don't think it's as rewatchable as some of the other Bond films. It's very, as I said before, very vanilla in its style, and everyone's just getting a handle of what this character is. The formula is not quite there yet, but it's still solid. It's still some great scenes. I love Sean Connery with Quarrel Jr. Quarrel, that's quite cool. And his little confrontation at the end with Dr. No is cool. And overall pretty solid. But probably if I'm going on my ranking, which I should get up really, I think it's in the middle. It's not the worst, but it's not the best, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I got to agree. When it comes to Dr. No, it's a fun movie, but there's certain things that, it's just the first one. Like, everything's not there yet. The only thing that I think is solidly there right from the beginning is like Sean Connery had a handle on it. Like, he got it from pretty early on. He had a handle on the character, and that's just the cockiness of Sean Connery. So
exactly, he nailed it. He nailed it straight away. Just that first little introduction. He's in the casino, and you first get the line, "The name's Bond, James Bond." Just to that arrogance that he says that, and how he treats some of those girls, and even how he treats Quarrel. He's like upper class kind of thing. I'm too good for this, and sees the girl, he's like, I've got to go to Jamaica, so I'm going to sleep with you, but I'm going next day. I'm not hanging around, because that's what happens, as you see with Sean Connery. But yeah, it's interesting anyway. I think the next one, which we'll get on to now, From Russia with Love, is definitely a step forward. It's probably one of my favorite Bond movies. I think it's in my top 5. Very much like almost Hitchcockian feel, very much a spy thriller compared to a lot of the other Bond films. What's your thoughts?
For me, From Russia with Love is one of the best scripts that Bond will ever get. It's not pure Bond as in the way that we would see Bond at like later on in the next film. It doesn't have all those boxes that checked yet, but it's one of the most solid. It's one of the best spy thrillers.
Yeah,
and it is the best spy thriller of the Sean Connery era.
Definitely.
It's definitely the best thriller. That's the reason it became the PS2 game and not any of the other James Bond.
Exactly. It was actually made a game, hardly any, and I played the game and I finished it all and it was great. But yeah, as I said, it's definitely a step up, spy thriller. And I think what really makes this one is the villains. Lottie Lenya as Rosa Klebb, and of course Robert Shaw as Red Grant, who is a great Bond villain, probably one of the best.
Oh, he kills it. And what really makes it for me too is that fight scene at the end on the train.
Yep,
is incredible. Like you'd be watching like Daredevil now, like years later, and you still can see aspects of what they went with. Like when you see like the kind of the close combat fight scene on the train, like years later, we're watching like Netflix shows and like Daredevil, and it's still like taking back from the close combat scene
exactly
early on. So that's leaving an impression. That's leaving a mark.
Exactly. It's just so physical. That's what I like about it. It's like a little confrontation. They sort of talk back and forth, and then it just gets really down and dirty kind of thing. And yeah, it's why he was so good, because he was almost like a physical equal to Bond. You know how some Bond villains, you're like, there's no way they're going to get over Bond. Robert Shaw as Red Grant, he matched him really. He's intelligent. He's psychotic, and just a great villain. And even Lottie Lenya, as I said, was great. Even Pedro Mares, which was Karen Bay, Bond's ally in the film, was great. Sadly, he was actually dying of cancer during the movie. You can see he was quite ill, so he was great. And just a great feel to the movie. I love all the stuff on the train. I know a lot of people say it's quite slow, but I love the slow burn of it. I really do.
It does, and it has a great opening too. That's the thing.
Exactly.
With the death of Bond.
Death of Bond, Spectre Training Center. I love it.
Yeah.
And you got Matt Monro, the song, which is an interesting thing, because they didn't actually have the song at the start. They had it at the end. Because remember, at the start, you just hear like the instrumental of the song, but you didn't get the actual words until at the end, which I don't know why they did that, but that's just what they did. But yeah, it's another one that I saw quite early on, and I really fell in love with Connery after that one. But yeah, that's From Russia with Love. What do we got? Oh, John Steele's just joined, and Blu-ray Hoarder's here too. I think you remember those guys.
Oh yeah. So
thanks for joining. And he's just joking. He says, so we're talking about saving bonds or government issue bonds or Barry bonds. He's just joking. So let's see. I'll just keep in touch with the chat. Kubrick, what are you saying? And Paul, you're right. Danny Boyle was supposed to direct the new Bond film, but he pulled out because of creative differences.
I wish he would have done it. I really would like to have seen Danny Boyle directing Bond, man.
Yeah, Danny Boyle would have been interesting, right? Yeah. What else is there? Which directors were pulled out? Okay, I think we just answered that. And now they're just having a bit of fun. So we'll continue on. So the next one, which is, I'm going to say it now, my personal favorite Bond of all time is Goldfinger. And again, I think it's another step up from Rush of Love. It sort of finally shows you what these Bond movies are about. It has the formula. You've got the Bond girls. You've got the Bond villain. You got the Bond henchman. You got the song by Shirley Bassey. You got the grand scale plan. Everything I think you want. Sean Connery, in my opinion, at his best. Love Goldfinger, and that's the one I've seen the most, I think, out of all the series. Whoops. Knocked my phone down. I was so excited. There we go. So what's your thoughts on Goldfinger?
Goldfinger, I love. I don't think there's anybody out there that's watched a Bond film that doesn't love Goldfinger, or that doesn't, even if you've seen it in passing, Goldfinger is usually the movie that they think of.
It's at least in their top 5. Yep.
Yeah, and and it's it's quotable. Do you expect me to die,
Yeah,
Goldfinger?
do you
No, I
expect
expect
me?
you to talk. I expect you to die, right? Like this,
Yeah,
yapto. But
or positively shocking at the
yeah,
beginning.
but it has everything. Shirley Eaton, I love Shirley Eaton in that, in her small
Yep.
role in the film, uh, and it's the scene with her, like in that as a kid, that actually kind of bothered me, like seeing her character die.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Painted gold. Yep.
yeah, because I was like, I no, that was one of the first actually female scenes like that really really bugged me. And I'm a
Yeah.
horror movie guy, but it did. Like I was like, oh, I really liked her character. I wanted her to live on.
Well, she was
But
pretty
no,
good
that's
looking, so I
oh yeah.
agree.
But she was like, the whole film. I can't think of a bad sequence when it comes to that. I like Pussy Galore,
Yep.
and he was great. He was, of course, his voice was dubbed over,
Yep.
but the main
Brian's just
villain,
saying that in the chat. Gert Frobe. Yep. German actor.
which was a shame because I would have liked to have seen it with his voice, but I don't know what I really. Kind of like when you watch My Fair Lady and you said maybe I do want to hear her singing the songs, and you're like you hear it for a bit and you're like no I don't. So maybe it's just perfect the way it is. But no, it's definitely one of my top ones, and probably, yeah. Although I go back and forth between From Russia with Love and Goldfinger as my favorite Sean Connery Bond, I think as an actual Bond film, as a real quality, as a Bondian film, you can't beat Goldfinger, at least in the Sean Connery era.
That's right. I think it's got, as I said, it's the most iconic Bond. A lot of iconic scenes. You have even the Aston Martin DB5, one of the most popular car vehicles in the series. Goldfinger, probably one of the best villains. And then, of course, let's not forget Oddjob, the great
Oh yeah,
henchman, which really followed later on with different henchmen like Jaws, like the little hat. And it kind of like every other Bond movie afterwards had to have something to do with a villain or henchman, had to have like a hat or was it a hook or a metal mouth, as we see later on. So great. Harold Sakata, I think he was like a Hawaiian wrestler or something. So really cool part for him. And obviously Felix Leiter in it again. And Bond girls are great. Honor Blackman, Pussy Galore, which very interesting name. I don't think you'd get away with that in 2018, but in the 60s, easy. So, and Shirley Bassey, of course, probably one of my top songs as well. Who can forget that, Goldfinger? So I think it's one that I always tell people, if you haven't got into the Bond movies, watch Goldfinger. I think that's one of the first ones I always tell people, because you don't really have to watch them in sequence because they don't really follow each other, apart from like the Daniel Craig ones more so. So I always say Goldfinger is a good place to start, because that's where I started anyway with the series. So
it's the best place to start to get people into them, because everything that they're going to see going on forward is set up in there.
Exactly. So now we come on to Thunderball, which is an interesting Bond. Probably, I don't know what it is about Thunderball. I can't exactly get into it a lot. It's sort of, since From Russia with Love and Goldfinger were hitting real high for me, Thunderball was a little bit goes down for a number of reasons. I think the villain, I think it's Emilio Largo, and an Italian actor, I think it's Adolphe Kelly or something like that. Not as good, and just the underwater stuff kind of bores me after a while. Like, I think it's too much. But what do you think about Thunderball?
Well, Thunderball is one of the ones I got to see in theater,
Right.
and I gotta agree. I went to see Thunderball in theater because it was playing in theater, not because it's a movie that's this is the one that I want to see in theater. But Rico Browning, who worked on Creature from the Black Lagoon, is the guy that did the underwater sequences
Okay.
for Thunderball, and they're great. They're well shot,
Yep.
and the fight goes on forever.
It does. It
Sorry,
just goes
it's
on and
so
on.
long.
It just, it's like, and then you sort of get confused. Who's the villains here? Who's the good guys? Because it's all underwater, and it just, when you think it's done, we go again, and the theme tune starts playing again, and it just goes on and on. And the actual plan of because Spectre becomes more involved in this one, as you see at the beginning when Largo goes to the sort of conference, and Blofeld's there with his cat, and you don't see his face, and he's just telling all of them about the plan, and he electrocutes one of the guys for failing or something in the chair, and the whole stuff at the health club is really fun with Sean Connery, and he's sort of finding out what's going on. So I like all that stuff, but I think it really dips after that. It sort of just becomes, what's the point? There's a few things I like about it. There's that, as I said, and then there's a really great scene sort of towards the middle end of the film where Bond is actually in trouble. He's sort of looking around. He's been shot in the leg, and these guys are after him. And remember, he does that little dance with Fiona Volpe, who's a really hot Bond girl. I must say that. Bond girl fatale, I guess you could say. I love that little scene where they're dancing, and that's a cool scene. But then after that, it sort of becomes irrelevant in a way, you know?
I think what kills it for me is the villain doesn't seem like a threat. He's just the main villain seems
angry old guy.
Yeah, and he's just like he almost seems like he's a henchman to this like mysterious villain that we don't see. So we never really take him seriously.
Exactly.
He's like I never once thought, Bond's in serious danger from this guy because this guy's really.
Well, Fiona Volpe is probably better. I mean, she's great. I thought she was really good. She was probably better than Amelia Largo, to be honest with you. I really liked her. She was very sort of sexual in a way as well. And just, I don't know what it was. I really liked all her scenes in the film. I think she was quite a tough villain and just had that sort of style that I really liked. So, yeah, Thunderball, again, probably if I'm looking at my little ranking here, it's near the bottom, unfortunately. It just hasn't aged well for me as I've watched it over the years. It's just, again, not one that I come back to a lot. It's only when I'm sort of doing the franchise as a whole that I'll watch it. But, I mean, there's some worse ones in it. There's worse Bond films than that one. But, not the greatest. And I'm just looking again. Brian said Thunderball was probably his worst Connery Bond.
It is, actually. I agree with that one.
And we probably should just talk about this since we're here on Thunderball. There was obviously a remake a lot long after in the 80s with Never Say Never Again, with Sean Connery returning, even though it's not an official Bond movie. I guess we can sort of bring that up now since we're at Thunderball. What do you think of that, briefly?
I saw Never Say Never Again in theater. I
got it there somewhere.
It was okay.
Yep.
Obviously, it was hampered by the fact that it was not allowed to use any of those tropes that they took so much care for. And I think it's part of the fact that they had to take such care because there was this other guy out there with his rights to this one here.
That's right.
That was serious about I want to make my own Bond. That helped the series in the long run survive because that made them, okay, we're going to put this, and this in every film, and he can't use this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
So as for a film, it's okay. I mean, I like certain aspects of it. It's a fun film. I don't think it was as good as the other Bond film that came out that year, to be totally honest with you.
Yep.
Some people disagree with that, but I actually preferred the other one that came out that year. But I saw them both in theater, and no, it was okay. It's a watch. I can rewatch it. Barbara Carrera. Yes. I really like Barbara Carrera.
I agree with you. I think she was great in it. She was just as good as we just said, Fiona Volpe in Thunderball. I think she was great. I actually liked Klaus Maria Brandauer as Largo. I think he was better than the Largo we saw in Thunderball. I think he was really menacing and kind of creepy. And there's a few good scenes in Never Say Never Again. I love, again, the health clinic stuff is really funny because they're playing off on the old Connery. And even when they play that sort of laser game, I know a lot of people hate it, but I enjoy it when they're playing that sort of game and, they're putting it together with their thumbs and they can't let go, otherwise they're going to get electrocuted. So
I thought that was fun.
I thought it was
that
great.
Aspect.
I loved it. Kim Basinger, she's a little bit out of place, I guess you could say, but she's still good looking, but I don't know about that. And I think Rowan Atkinson was in it as well, wasn't he? He
was like the kind of comical. Really,
he was supposed to be like Felix or sort of agent anyway. So that was fun. I actually enjoyed the song as well. I think it's Lanny Hall, Never Say Never Again. I enjoyed that, and so it's
actually
not that
really
bad.
like the song.
It's
I hate the fact that they couldn't do the Bond opening. But I did love the song. I love that song, actually.
Yeah, I love it too. And I just love how it fits in with him doing that training thing at the beginning. And, again, you're not sure if that's real or you find it's training anyway. But it's great. I really enjoyed that. So it's funny enough, I probably watched that one more now than Thunderball. It's just strange how I watch that quite often when I just feel like it for some reason. I don't know why. I just do. So that's that. And I think Robbie just says, was Never Say Never Again Thunderball remake? Yes, it was. Pretty much. Follows the same story. So that's that.
Because Ian Fleming had written Thunderball with another guy. And,
right.
and
Kevin
basically...
McClory, wasn't it?
Yeah, and McClory sued for the rights to that film. And that would get things taken out of like the James Bond franchise down the road.
Spectre.
Yeah, exactly. They couldn't use Spectre
They
because
couldn't use
that's what.
Spectre, and that's the reason they couldn't use Spectre, because he had the rights to it. It's only now recently with obviously the new movie was called Spectre, but that's only very recent, because for a long time there they couldn't use that. And you notice in some other Bond games it was always called Octopus. It wasn't called Spectre for that reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another little tidbit for you guys in the chat. So yeah, interesting stuff. But because the other thing he was going to do actually was keep remaking this story of Thunderball and Never Say Never Again. He was planning to do another one after Never Say Never Again. So would keep getting the same movie but redone all the time, because, I don't know, he had some obsession or something to do with it anyway. So that's that. So we can move on to the next Bond film, You Only Live Twice. Bond's in Japan for the first time. Sean Connery, before he takes a break, is here. What's your thoughts on You Only Live Twice?
Well, better song
Yep,
than the last movie for me.
Nancy Sinatra.
Though I do like Thunderball's song. I do. That is, it does have a good song. We forgot to mention that, but
Yep.
Tom Jones does a good job.
Oh yeah.
We got, again, we're getting the bass, the volcano. But I overall, like, I'll be honest with you, Thunderball and You Only Live Twice, I like them both, but they're two that I go to least. They're probably the least ones that I watch. And if you ask me, like, now, like, a lot about You Only Live Twice, honestly, aside from the Japan thing, and I barely remember the villain. Barely. I remember, like, the fighting sequences. I remember some, like, certain scenes, but I barely remember the film. It's one of those that, like, when I remember, like, oh yeah, that's not a bad film. I like that fight sequence in the hotel room with the big Hawaiian guy and that.
Yeah, I like that. Yep.
But then I get it. Then the movie's over, and I'm like, what did I just watch?
Exactly.
So it doesn't stick with me.
Exactly. I understand what you mean. And I'm kind of like that over the years. I sort of, when I was a bit younger, probably in my teens, I enjoyed it more. But as I've grown up and now in my late 20s, I've sort of I don't know. I just can't get into it as much. You're right. Everything you said is correct. The only good thing about that film for me was Donald Pleasance as Blofeld. And again, he wasn't used a lot. He was only used towards the end of the film. I thought he was great, menacing, everything you expected. Because remember, this was the first film that we finally saw a face to Spectre. We kept seeing him behind the closed doors, patting the cat in Thunderball from Rush of Love. So finally we get to see the face, and Donald Pleasance was great. But apart from that, very, like, the Bond girls and that, two Japanese actresses, not that great, and just the whole story of it isn't that well made. It's kind of not that interesting. I mean, the best part about it is the volcano lair and Blofeld, and that's about it.
Yeah.
There's
Pleasance
not
comes
much.
on as Blofeld.
Exactly. Sean Connery does look bored in it, and he was. He didn't want to even be in Japan at the time. He was done. He was so frustrated. I think he got a lot of, like, a lot of mention in Japan, and people were following him everywhere, so that probably didn't help things when he was filming it. But yeah, it's just, again, not that rewatchable, and just, again, I think it's actually one of my lowest. It's probably my bottom 5, to be honest. It is, actually. Just click on my link here for my list, and yeah, it is. It's bottom 5. So it probably, to be honest, least favorite Connery for me. I'm going to put it out there. Yeah, I just can't see anything great about it. Not that it's bad, like, compared to other films, but it's just not that interesting. And
it's just kind of forgettable.
Exactly. I mean, Nancy Sinatra, as you said, pretty good song, but yeah, that's all she wrote with that one. So let's see what's in.
Now, do you think the guy that played Blofeld before, because he was in the first Bond movie, he was in Dr.
Anthony Dawson? Yep.
Yeah. Well, like, he was kind of like peeved, like, damn it, they're showing Blofeld, and it's not me.
I think they used his body, but then they had someone else voicing him in From Russia with Love and Thunderball. So they used his figure, but someone else did the voice. That's from what I gathered anyway, from another little tidbit for guys in the chat. I'm showing myself as a Bond nerd here, but that's what this is about. What did Kubrick Lovers say? You Only Live Twice at the time had the largest set in the world. I can believe that with that volcano lair. Yeah. I believe that was Ken Adam, was it? Was he doing it back then, or was it a little early for him? I'm not sure.
I think it was, actually.
Because he did a lot of the great sets that we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, that's that. I guess we move on to On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
I love this one.
Yeah, probably one of the best stories in the Bond universe, to be honest. And I think if Connery had come into this not pissed off and yet at his best, this could have been the very best Bond film because it has the emotional element. It has a great Bond girl, a villain, Telly Savalas, which I've quoted many times. Was it, what's his name? The detective that I always say to you in the chat. What's his name now? Jeez, I've lost it. I'll get back to it. But the song's great, the orchestra, John Barry Orchestra. And yeah, it's just an overall really good film. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is one of my tops. I mean, it always has been. And for the longest time, it was my top Bond film. But I think until Skyfall came out, for a lot of people, this was the best script that Bond had ever done.
I agree.
And that's always been like big for me. Now I might be. I gotta be sure. I'm not sure if I remember this correctly or not. But wasn't Dalton asked back then? Because he was asked early on, and he said no. He said, "I'm way too young."
I think he did, because I know Pierce Brosnan was asked, but that was later on, because he wouldn't have been even around. But I think you're right. I think he was too young for the role. Yep.
Yeah, like Dalton. Like they asked Dalton. Can you imagine Dalton's intensity? Going in then? That would have been awesome. Because I'm pretty sure, because if you go back and you watch the features on it, like they're talking about the people that were asked around that time, and he was one of the ones. Of course, there's John Gavin, which from
Psycho,
yeah, or you got the OSS 117 set. Then he does the role in the last one for that. So no, not as Bond, but no, I think that if they needed somebody that was going to have that Sean Connery look still, maybe he was too close in some ways to into the look, but he was different. Like he could get beaten up. This was the first Bond that could get beaten up. If you're familiar with the show called Mannix, it was a show that used to come on with Mike Connors, and he was a tough detective, but Mannix would get his ass handed to him all the time. And this is the James Bond that gets his ass handed to him.
Exactly,
basically.
He does.
Like things go wrong, and it's kind of neat. So he's got the gadgets, and the one thing they wanted to make sure was that the gadgets were not gonna get him out. The gadgets weren't going to work. So every time he takes out one of the gadgets, they fail. It's a great cast. Diana Rigg is incredible.
Diana Rigg's great.
Yeah,
one of the best Bond girls. Yep.
That's Tracy, and I think that Telly Savalas and he did get made fun of a bit for playing Blofeld.
I like Telly,
but I think he was awesome.
Kojak,
he's got a presence.
Kojak. Yeah. I was trying to think of that show. Yeah, so he does have a presence. He just got that really great voice, which I think fitted Blofeld great. So, yeah, and he could match Bond physically. The other two Blofelds, the other two main ones, Charles Gray, which we'll get onto very soon, and Donald Pleasance, couldn't really match Bond in a physical sense. Maybe mentally they could, but Telly Savalas is, equal to Bond in that way. So that's what made the film even more interesting and intriguing. And there's a lot of scenes, as you said, he's in danger all the time. He has to get Tracy to rescue him from getting out of that scene when he's driving around in the ice rink towards the middle end of the film, which is really interesting when Ilma Bunt is chasing him, which was another really good sort of Bond girl henchman, if you know what I mean. She was great. Overall, really good film and very emotional, as we know, because we all know what happens at the end. He falls in love, gets married, and then just when they're about to go on their honeymoon, bang, she's dead. And that's all she wrote, unfortunately, for Tracy. And just such a great, real moment at the end. Like someone goes up to him and he's like, "Don't worry, we're all right. We have all the time in the world." And then,
that's all right. I was like, and then it hits you, and then you're like, "Oh man."
Yeah, it's like because you can see it. Like a lot of the other films, you can see he's just doing it. These other Bond girls, he's not really into, but with Tracy, he really falls for her. You know what I mean? He pretty much gives away the service for her. He's done with all that. He wants to give all that away because he really falls in love. So when you see that scene, it's so great, and it's just like, why? But that's Bond, that's just what happens. Otherwise, we wouldn't get another 20 movies.
But the cool thing, too, is he actually developed Tracy as a character within the film. And they don't do that with a lot of the Bond girls.
Exactly.
Of course, they needed to get that emotional punch.
Yeah.
But it works, and it lets you know that maybe, you can develop some of these girls just a little bit better.
Exactly.
They do it. And as for like Lazenby's, like people like say, well, Lazenby, he wasn't that good of an actor type of thing. But he pulls off some stuff that was really hard, especially for a new actor going in.
Yeah.
He's got to be the flippant. He's taken over from a very confident actor that's a song and dance man, pretty much. So because you think about it, like Sean Connery, was a song and dance guy, went in to do Bond. Hugh Jackman was a song and dance guy, went in to do Wolverine. They both became icons of their era for action heroes, like for a specific action hero. But he comes in and he's like this. He's like this Australian actor, just starting. Pretty much did his hair, everything to look like Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene at the beginning where he gets knocked out, and it's like, no, this didn't happen to the other fella.
Yeah, I was
love
about
that
to
scene.
quote that. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting when he says that. You should definitely check out that documentary, as I said earlier, because that really gives you an insight into what happened. Because he wasn't really an actor; he was a car salesman. Then he did a bit of modeling. He actually was only turning up to the sort of screening because a friend couldn't make it, so he was just filling in for a friend. So that's how the luck goes. And as I said, he wasn't really aware of the film industry. That's why, like, after he finished it, he didn't have probably a proper manager or someone telling him, like, look, you've got to go with this because this is a very popular series and make more. He was but he just couldn't handle the fame of it, And I think there was one of the, I think he was trying to go to one of the premieres in UK, and he came on stage with a beard and all that, and Bond never had a beard back then, so that was showing like, damn, what's this guy doing? So he was trying to go against all that, which didn't work out for him in the end, I guess you could say. So yeah, it would have been interesting to see him go on and I think develop more. Maybe we would probably appreciate him more if he did maybe 2, 3, 4 films,
I think it would have been a more serious Bond. I think it would have went in the Dalton direction when it comes
I
to,
think so. He
to
looked
that.
more serious. I know he had a couple of campy, cheesy lines in On a Majesty's Secret Service, but I think he was more the physical because he did a lot of the fight scenes himself as well. That's the other thing. He was actually punching out people on set because he wasn't sure how to do it properly. You know what I mean? So it was very great documentary to watch. So I'd recommend that for yourself, definitely. So now we come back. Sean Connery comes back in Diamonds Are Forever, the last Connery film. And they were looking for someone to come back. They were looking for Bond actors. I didn't know what to do. So then they offered Connery a large sum of money at the time. And I really enjoyed Diamonds. I think it's a fun one. It's one of the other films that I first saw back in the day. I think it's the second or third one that I watched. And I really enjoy it, even though it's very campy. And yeah, it's got that 70s style. What do you think?
Diamonds basically sets up what we're going to get for the next few Bond, for the next era Bond.
Exactly.
I love the henchmen in this. Of course, Crispin Glover's dad.
Yeah, Mr. Wint, and Mr. Kidd. Yep.
Yeah, they're amazing, and
I love it.
I thought they were fantastic. I love the opening. I love the Where's Ernest Stavros Blofeld opening at the beginning of the film with like him just like pretty much punching everybody out, and from his point of view, so we're really not getting like that. We see him when we finally see him. It's like Bond is back type of thing, and it's he's back with a vengeance, literally back with a vengeance. Again, and I think this was this the first one that had like kind of like nudity with?
Yes, Tiffany Case. Yep.
Yeah,
it does.
Who I was very much appreciated, especially as a kid. Very appreciative of her.
Oh yeah, she's hot.
Of her talents. I really did like
John.
Charles Gray too. I love as well. So,
yep. Yeah. Charles Gray was such a campy Blofeld, wasn't he? But he fits the role well. I always liked Charles Gray. I know he's in a lot of those Hammer horror films. I've seen him a bit in there, and he's always playing that sort of campy style character. But I thought he fitted the role well. As you said, Mr. Kidd and Mr. Wint, again, probably a great duo. Jill St. John was great. You can see Connery's having a lot more fun here, even though he's older and he's having a lot more fun. He's going with it. Again, Shirley Bassey does the theme song, which is a great one, Diamonds Are Forever. And yeah, it's fun. I really like it. I guess the only disappointing part about it is it's sort of after, on Managed Secret Service, you expected maybe more of a revenge type movie, and you only really get that at the beginning, and you think that he's killed off Blofeld, but obviously he's created doubles of himself, and then it just sort of goes on to another story. That's the only thing.
Because it has that guy too, right? Like the guy that was like what was he like? The Texan. guy.
What is it? Willard White.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the sort of the weird guy who was locked up, and Blofeld's pretending to be him, obviously, and I can't remember his name in it. I just can't get it, but yeah, that was a strange sort of role for him there. That was kind of good.
Jimmy Dean, like the sausages.
Jimmy Dean,
That's the guy who did the sausages.
Yeah,
but like the one that does the nudity is Lana Wood, I think, right? Like,
I think Timothy Case does a bit. Jill St. John, but you're right. I think there is a scene with her as well, an extended scene, which you only see in deleted scenes.
Yeah, which I was a big fan of Lana Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she's hot as well. That's Natalie Wood's sister, right?
It is, yeah.
Yep. Charles Gray played a good guy. Yes, you're right, Brian. He actually plays an ally in You Only Live Twice. You are right. Henderson, which is a very memorable scene in that one. So Charles Gray actually played two characters in a Bond film, which there's only a little club of that. There's only a few people that have done that. So, yeah.
And still, he'll always be known for Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, Diamonds Are Forever. Again, solid film. In my ranking here, it's in the middle, close, more top than low. So, very much a fun film. So, if you just want like a, Sunday afternoon, you just want to chill out and have some fun, drink a beer or whatever you want to do, Diamonds is a good one to just chill out with. So, that's what I think of that. So, that's the end of the Connery era, really. Well, officially anyway, we've already talked about unofficially, but we move on to your favourite, Roger Moore with Live and Let Die, which is also John Steele's favourite film of the Bond series.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's his favourite. So what do you think of Live and Let Die?
I love Live and Let Die for a lot of reasons. One, it's got one of the most kick-ass theme songs.
Oh, yeah.
Two, Baron Samedi scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Jeffrey Holder.
Yeah, and like I remember from the 7-Up commercials, even the 7-Up commercials afterwards, because he was like a spokesperson for 7-Up, right?
Yeah,
he was like, drink 7-Up, and I'm like, yes, I'll drink 7-Up. But it was really good. I liked Yaphet Kotto. I love blaxploitation films, that was like a big step there. And was this the one, or was it the next? When do we get into that sheriff guy?
I love Sheriff J.W. Pepper.
I love that character. I wish he was some more. And it was like taken right out of a Smokey the Bandit type of film.
Exactly.
Like if Smokey goes on vacation. I love the stunts in this one here. Some people thought it was kind of silly. He's an ass in this movie though, more so than any other one. Look, you got like Solitaire, and she's like this. She's
gorgeous.
This virgin character. Yeah, and she's got her powers as long as she's a virgin, and he screws her over really bad, and you're like, man, like what a dick. But I can see why. But no, she was gorgeous in the film, and I love that movie. I do love that one a lot, and that song is like one of my top Bond songs.
Yeah, Paul McCartney and the Wings. Yeah, definitely one of the best songs, and this one is I think it's in my top 5. I love Live and Let Die. I love the feel of it. All the villains. You got Yaphet Kotto as Dr. Kananga / Mr. Big. Jeffrey Holder as Baron Samedi, and then Julius W. Harris as Teehee. Again, one of the little villains with the hook and the crocodile farm, which I love that little scene at the crocodile farm. And I just love how all three of those villains get their little scenes. Each one of them has their little moments in the movie, and there's a lot of great little cheesy moments with Roger Moore. You had, as I said, Jane Seymour was beautiful, and just a really unique and interesting Bond movie with all the tarot cards, and you had different locations as well, San Monique, New York, New Orleans, pretty much scattered across America, which is cool. And it's one of the only movies without Q, though. That's a tidbit for you.
It is,
Q wasn't in this one because you only see at the beginning of the film Moneypenny and M go to Bond's apartment, which is also interesting because you don't really get a feel of where Bond lives that often in the series. So, and of course, he's sleeping with another agent. He's trying to hide her at the beginning. And he gets his metal watch that he does.
I love that sequence.
Yeah, does that. So I have a lot of fun with Live and Let Die. And again, it's one of those films that I recommend to people in the chat to go watch if you haven't seen a lot of the films. I really love that one a lot. So that's Live and Let Die. And now we come on to one that I know a lot of people don't like, and amongst Bond fans think it's really bad. The Man with a Golden Gun. Starring Roger Moore and Christopher Lee, a very big all-time actor. So what are your thoughts on Man with the Golden Gun?
When I originally saw Man with the Golden Gun was one of the least favorite movies that I saw. I think part of it is going in with Christopher Lee
Mhm.
and like thinking, wow, Christopher Lee, James Bond, this is going to be the epic one, and it wasn't. It wasn't as like Christopher Lee's a good villain, but he's not as good. I don't think they took advantage of the fact that he had Christopher Lee
Yeah,
in this film, and they
I
had
agree.
what's his name,
Yeah,
Villechess,
Hervé Villechaize as Nick Nack. Yep,
who did a great a great job in the film for what he has to do. And is a much better and much he's an underrated like character too. Like people like kind of like the a lot of people don't like him. I think that's one of the things that people don't like about the film. I love the ending of the film. I love
oh, the ending
the
is
Hall of
great.
Mirrors is incredible.
The whole duel scene, he's like Titans against Titans. My Wolf for PPK against your Golden Gun. 6 shots against one. I love that sort of almost
Yeah,
Western duel thing at the end. It's great. Love
but I
that. But
feel
yeah,
the journey getting there isn't as good. I mean, the
it isn't as
journey,
good. Yeah.
yeah, like it's okay. And it never comes across as anything more than okay until like
Hmm.
the last of it. Then it's like then I'm like okay, it's like I'm all there. Like if you can get to the end, because it is one of the for me it is one of the lesser ones. I
It
love
is.
Christopher Lee in the role, and I love Nick Nack, and yeah, the song okay, but
Lulu. Yep.
yeah, and I do like Lulu. I like God the movie Sidney Poitier. It was killing
That's
me.
a So Love.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
That was
I like her
I
in
was
that.
like
Yeah, it's a
blanking on
good
the name.
movie. No, it's even the Bond girl. Like to be honest, we've got two Bond girls, Maud Adams and Britt Eklund are in this, and Britt Eklund plays that sort of almost ditzy Bond girl. You know what I mean? She's clumsy. She's trying
Yeah,
to. I didn't like, but Maud Adams was good. I mean, we see her in a better role later on in Octopussy, but I thought she was
yeah.
good as like Scaramanga's girl, and she sort of wants Bond to take him down. But Christopher Lee plays Christopher Lee in this. He's just great. Just not enough in it, really. I mean, he could have been used a lot more because it has this side story in this film where you get this about this solar agitator thing and the whole crisis of that, and then you get to this like kung fu part of the movie where they're in this thing running around, and it's all unnecessary. This was supposed to be like Bond meeting his match in a way. Francisco Scaramanga was a big assassin, and it didn't really come out that way. That's why the ending, which is so cool, just didn't have that hype because of what you just said. The whole rest of the film was just, so,
Yeah, like there's all this
um,
other stuff. Like when I was younger, I had this like martial arts like kind of like comic book, and they
yeah,
actually show like the martial arts sequence like in the middle of the book like from that film.
right.
But I'm like, oh wow, this is gonna be really cool. But no, no,
No, disappointing. So that's the Man with the Golden Gun. And Brian actually says he thinks it's pretty solid. He loves it. So there you go. That's what happens. That's what I love about the Bond series. Everyone has their own opinions on it. And everyone has different favorites and not favorites. So that's why it's such a great series to talk about with. And that's why we're both here at the moment. So great one. Now we move on to my, I think, second favorite Bond movie of all time. Favorite Roger Moore, The Spy Who Loved Me. And like Goldfinger, I really feel that Roger Moore is in his element now. He's finally found his feet and he's kicking ass in this one. I just think this movie has everything again. Good Bond villain. I love Barbara Bach as Anya. Jaws, Henchmen, the song, Carly Simon, all the sort of settings, the big Atlantis sort of displays, cool. I just really enjoy this movie a lot. Really do. Can't I just rewatch this one a lot, and I love the stuff in Egypt. Then they go to Italy, and yeah, it's great. What are your thoughts?
best Roger Moore film
Yeah,
by far as Bond. It gets everything right. This is the same as Goldfinger did in the previous iteration of Bond. This hits every note
yeah.
perfectly. And Jaws is scary in the
Oh
first one.
yeah, he's
Jaws
great in this.
and he does
Professional
such a good
hitman.
job.
Yep.
But no, I can't find a bad thing about that one. That's one that I do rewatch a lot.
It is.
And yeah,
I don't know what it is. It just has everything going for it, and I like how like Barbara Bach is a Russian agent, and the KGB and MI6 kind of have to combine forces to sort of sort out this villain. Kurt Jürgens, another German actor who played Stromberg, who sort of has this obsession about living in the sea and all that. So I think we're sort of getting now to the grand scale plans. These Bond villains are wanting to take over the world type thing. You know what I mean? You get that with Drax. We'll talk about that very soon. And, I like that aspect of it. A really cool Bond car in this one as well. The Lotus, the Spirit, one of the other famous Bond cars in the series, which I think is great. So overall, very, very good. Top 5, I think number 2 for me, and another one that they will just recommend to everyone in the chat. We go to that one, and now we move on to, we talked about this already, because Star Wars came out at the time, Moonraker, so inspiration for Star Wars. And as I said, but earlier on, I had a love-hate relationship with it, but I'm now more on the love side. I've grown to like Moonraker a lot more than I used to. I've sort of realized what it's doing. It's just a fun film. It's got a Jaws in it again, which I had kind of issues with in this one. He's not as menacing. But I love Michael Lonsdale as Drax, that sort of quiet, but I don't know, he was great. And you got Shirley Bassey again as a theme song. And yeah, as I said, Lois Chills as Holly Goodhead. Great, it's fun, just a fun film. What are your thoughts?
It's really enjoyable. I think people really rag on this one a lot. And as a B movie fan, or Z movie fan in some cases, I think this one really kind of brings it home for what they needed it to be. I like the villain in this one. People really hate what they do with they think that what they do with Jaws. And I think in a way, it's like Evil Dead, right? So when they did Evil Dead, the Evil Dead's super scary to me. It was back today. So and then Evil Dead 2 comes out, and it's like hyper kinetically funny. They took Jaws and they made him as scary and menacing as they could, and they could have done the exact same thing over again with the new one, but they didn't. They took a chance with Jaws. They did something different. They gave him a girlfriend. They had him sacrifice himself.
Dolly.
He did. Yeah. It was like, I'm sure he doesn't die because he's Jaws. He's nigh indestructible. I saw him as like, that he's going to make it out. I said, we'll maybe see Jaws again because I don't think he's dead. And I had fun with that, as opposed to a lot of people right from the beginning. I liked that aspect.
Yeah, the laser, the whole in space at the end, the whole laser battle's cool. And I love Chang, I think it is, Drax's little henchman before he sort of gets Jaws. That sort of scene with him and Bond do that fight, in the glass, and they're all smashing all the valuable glass ornaments. And I just love the scene when he does, he finds out that Chang obviously gets killed, and he rings up like this henchman agency, and he's like, "Oh, if you can get him," and then you see Jaws walking in the metal detector, and he just smiles, and I love that. And even on the cable car is really cool. Jaws when he skids down and Bond and him, and he smiles at Bond, he smiles at him, and I love that part of it too. So yeah, I'm definitely leaning more on the love side of Moonraker these days. I've grown to like it, and again, it's one, I don't know what it is when I'm, maybe not feeling well or just, in one of those moods. I just put on Moonraker for some reason. I don't know what. It's one of my feel-good Bond movies.
I think it's the one that if anybody if you want to give one Bond movie a second chance, this is the one to give a second chance to.
I agree with you, definitely. So Moonraker, guys, if you in the chat and if you think you didn't like it, maybe give it another go because I think it's good. And Roger Moore, great still, and yeah, it's fun, that's for sure. Now we move on to, I guess went down a different kind of route. We go to For Your Eyes Only, which personally is another one of my favorites. I think it's in my top 5 as well. Really enjoy this one a lot because I think it goes more serious, which some people don't like, but I like how Roger Moore is a bit more serious in this movie. And I love the little tidbit at the beginning when he's at the cemetery, he goes to visit his wife's grave, and then he has that little thing with Blofeld, which, some people are like, well, that is the climax of Bond and Blofeld, but who knows if that's a double or whatever. But overall, this film is great.
I think they had to get rid of Blofeld due to the fact that you couldn't use Spectre and all that.
Exactly.
So that's why I think they kind of just had to rush that out because people were asking, where's Blofeld? Where's Blofeld? Get it out of the way, type of thing. I think that this one. No, I remember this one from a kid because Marvel Comics had a comic book adaptation of it, and they actually had like a little kind of a novel, a pocket-sized novel, but it was a comic book, and they also did like the regular novel, like 3-issue miniseries, comic book miniseries for Your Eyes Only. Now, For Your Eyes Only for me is the Friday the 13th Part 4 of James Bond movies, in that it's a best of compilation. It's in all the big action sequences. They're amazing in For Your Eyes Only.
Exactly.
It has some of the best action sequences in all of the Bond films.
Mhm.
There's the with the ice sequence with the
Yeah,
motorcycles.
down the mountains. Yep, with the
Yeah,
skis. Yep,
amazing stuff. And
the water.
when
Yep.
he takes the flowers out.
Oh yeah, you get the
Yeah,
flowers. Yeah, it has all of it. It's got the water sequence. It's got the on the air at the beginning. Then it has the mountain at the end when he has to climb up to get to that sort of monastery, which is cool. I guess the only thing people say, very forgettable villains in this one. You got Cristados, Julian Glover, great actor, but not
yeah.
that memorable. If you're thinking about Bond villains, which they might be the last thing we talk about towards the end. Not that memorable. It's not one of you probably wouldn't be in your top 5 or 10 really as villains. So, but you also had Topo, Columbo, which I thought was entertaining. It was nice to see Columbo, Topo in there, great actor. You had Lynn Holly Johnson as BB Dowell. I know a lot of people didn't like BB, the screaming like young girl, and the
I
whole
liked her.
thing he does with Bond. The sort of young girl thing with Roger Moore. Kind of was. Some people thought it was a bit off, but whatever.
Him saying no type of thing.
Yeah, because usually Bond's all into it, but not because he sort of shows he's almost like a father figure in a way.
But it was kind of showing like his Bond. It's like it's his stamp on
Yeah,
indifference.
I really like Caroline Bouquet as Melina too. She was like a strong woman because this basically centers around her because her parents get murdered and she's trying to investigate who it is, and Bond's sort of assisting her. So it's almost like again. So back to a spy thriller in a way, and back to almost like a murder mystery in some ways. He's trying to figure out who's behind all this because Melina's parents were pretty much involved with, part of MI6. The father worked with them, so it has that little element too. And I love the song Sheena Easton. It's probably my favorite song. I love For Your Eyes Only. It's a great song, one of my favorites. And I watch this one all the time. I love For Your Eyes Only.
I carried the comic book around until the pages fell out, like legitimately.
That's crazy. Just started young. Oh yeah, okay, Brian. Yeah, ski chasing. I see. So now we move on to the one you mentioned earlier, Octopussy. Now we're getting to a bit more of the fun stuff. So, what are your thoughts on Octopussy?
Octopus is cheesy. I mean, like it's definitely cheesy, and the villain's different, but I don't know. It's fun. It's not one of my favorite James Bond films. But I'll tell you one thing. I will enjoy watching Octopussy like 10 times over. I'll enjoy watching. You Only Live Twice.
I agree.
Or Thunderball.
Or Thunderball. Yeah.
Because Octopussy is one with 0013, right? With Agent like 00, like was it getting killed at the beginning of it?
We got 009, the clown
009,
suit at the beginning.
Yeah, the clown suit. But no, I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the more fun Bond movies at all. But I think it's one of those, as I said earlier at the start of the stream, you have your either serious Bond movies or you got your comical ones. This one definitely falls in the more comical and fun, but probably one of the high up fun films because it doesn't take itself seriously. You got Gobinda, who's the Indian henchman. You got Louis Jordan as Kamal Khan, who was great.
I love him.
Yeah.
I want to see more of him in the film. But I can understand why they didn't, but I loved them in the film.
Well, it was almost like, in a way, Live and Let Die, where they had a number of villains. You got, like, Kamal Khan, you got Gobinda, the Indian henchman, then you have, what's his name, Steve Orlov, General Orlov, Steve Burkhoff, General Orlov, as the general. He, again, has a little scenes, and that scene when he's running after the train, he kind of gets shot, that's a cool scene. But, Maud Adams, again, a little tidbit, one of the few people that comes back as another character in the series.
Exactly.
Which is cool.
And incredible, too.
She was great in this, much better. Well, probably had more to do in this one than Man with the Golden Gun. And even the blonde girl at the beginning, like her sort of sidekick, I think she's a Swedish actress. I don't know her name offhand, but she was gorgeous. I liked her. And it was just cool to see him in India and, running in that jungle. Maybe he's running with all the snakes and the spiders and the leeches are on him and that cool scene where he's running from the castle. And, it just has a lot of cool scenes. And then the train at the end is cool. I love that train sequence where he dresses up as a clown and then those two brother knife throwers are after him. And it's great. Roger Moore's having a great time. And it's just a fun film. It really is. That's Octopussy. So there we go. Now we get on to the last Roger Moore film and my least favorite. Let's be honest, A View to a Kill. What can I say? Only good thing about this for me, Christopher Walken as Max Zorin. That's all I can say about it.
Oh, really? There's a couple scenes. Like Voodoo Kill, I remember really well. I had a really good song with Duran Duran. I really like that song. I like Grace Jones in it. I think that that was a very different like a villain. I like with Patrick McNeese in this one.
Yep.
So there was aspects of it that I like. Tanya Roberts as
Ditzy. Yeah.
So she's gone back to kind of like the ditzier, kind of cheesier type of Bond heroes. But you know what? As we got over them and we got to the final Roger Moore one, there's more to like in the Roger Moore ones, film wise, than there is in the Connery ones. Like even though people are like Connery is the Bond, and like he's the first guy that played Bond, but Roger Moore played, in my opinion, more like better Bond. Like more, there's a larger amount of Bond films that are good in the Roger Moore series than there is in the Sean Connery ones.
That's right. I think in this one, the only thing is he's looking old in this one, Roger Moore. He's looking like past it. He definitely, he was starting to look a little bit in For Your Eyes Only or Octopussy, but this one, it's really evident. And that's why I don't know. I love Duran Duran. The song is great. And as I said, Christopher Walken, Grace Jones is good, but I just wasn't that keen on the whole scheme that Christopher Walken was planning. I don't know. It just feels kind of dated, and I'm not that interested in it. Yeah,
it's probably the most dated of the Bond films because of the way they go with it. But
I think okay, Blue-Ray Horta just asked you. We'll just continue this on at the moment. Favorite Bond girl and favorite Bond song. We'll just answer that now. We'll get there at the very end because we're getting there to the end. We're getting pretty close, guys. So we're off Roger Moore now. We're getting to Timothy Dalton, The Living Daylights. Thoughts?
I really like this movie. I do. I remember the short story, The Living Daylights, because it was like I remember the short story almost as much as I remember the film, where he's setting up the assassination, and he's taking the drink, and he's nervous, and his hand's shaking a bit, and he's drinking to do that, and which is kind of comes into play now because there's this article like, so Bond is a severe alcoholic, right? And he drinks a lot of alcohol, but I guess people like to read extra things nowadays into stuff because whatever. But but no, I really did enjoy this film. It was a good start. Some people didn't like the fact that that there wasn't as many girls that he slept with in there. This was coming around the time of AIDS as well. Like
exactly.
So they were going with more of they went with more of a safe sex Bond. They've actually showed that we got the condom sequence.
Exactly.
But and some people were like, oh, it takes away from the manlyhood of Bond. I'm like, no, it doesn't take away from the manlyhood in real life. It doesn't take away from the manlyhood of the character in a fictional film. I liked it. It's not my favorite of the two Timothy Dalton ones.
Okay.
But I really did enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I really liked it. Again, this is one kind of like when I was talking about Moonraker. This one's really gone up for me in the last. Oh, my battery! I'm gonna have to charge and jump on the computer in a second. But what can I say? This has really grown for me over time. It's one that I've really grown to love over the last few years. I love how it's quite serious. It's more real world. He's dealing with like real world issues now with that sort of Afghanistan scenes, and it just feels more like gritty. And Timothy Dalton plays that sort of part so well. Again, the Bond villains in this are not that memorable as much as some of the other ones. You got Jerome Krabby. You got John Don Baker, I believe, who again falls in that category of playing another character in his Brosnan issues. And then you got that sort of, I think he's German or Ukrainian, the Necros, the guy that has the milk bottles and strangles people with the headphones. He was a henchman in Die Hard, actually. He was one of the Die Hard German villains. So you've got that, and then you got the Bond girl, which I wasn't that keen on her, to be honest.
Which one?
It's like Miriam Diablo.
Diablo.
Wasn't big on her, to be honest. But I did like John Rhys Davies in this. I thought he was great. Had some great scenes in it. And that scene where Bond sort of comes in his hotel room and sort of fronts him and tells him what's going on. I love that scene where he sort of infiltrates him because at that moment, he's not sure who's playing him because at the beginning, he thinks it's him that's playing him, but it's actually Jerome Krabby that set him up for all this. So it's kind of like double crossing going on there. So I love that aspect. Love that scene. I love them how they go down the sort of snow with the violin or the cello.
That's one of my
case.
favorite scenes.
Love that
Yeah.
cello case. Is like anything to declare, just a cello, and they just go skidding down. And even the scene where he's on the plane and they're both hanging out of the plane with like the explosives tied onto the back. Love that part too. So yeah, overall a really good one, and it's really come up for me in the last few years for sure. So that's that, Living Daylights. Now we move on to apparently your favorite Timothy Dalton, because I'm going to say Living Daylights is for me License to Kill. So
I
what
love
makes
License
it your
to Kill.
favorite?
It brings back the best Leiter ever, for one. David Henderson is the best Felix Leiter, and it has serious like consequences. What the villain does to Felix. Priscilla Barnes, is a small role as the bride, of course, and but I love the way this one played out, and the fact that Bond's gone rogue.
Mm-hmm.
I want he's done it before, but not to this extent. And I really like that we got this Bond that's gone rogue, and it's personal. It's like same as was back. It hasn't been personal since Tracy, so it's personal again. This is Leiter isn't a character that we've seen in one movie. This is a character we've seen, since pretty much since the beginning. But it's neat to have like the actor that probably for me best personifies Leiter come back and play him again. Mm-hmm. And I'm a really big fan of Henderson anyway. So to see him come back and to see what happens to him. Yeah, and we got, who's it?
Robert Davi.
Robert Davi.
But the young guy. Benicio del
Toro, right? Del Toro.
With the knife.
Amazing. Yep. Like, I loved him. Like,
Before he got big.
Exactly. And he's like the punk character, but he's dangerous, and he seems dangerous. Yeah, and he seems dangerous in the way that he doesn't care.
A much more serious. Again, it gets pretty intense. It's one of the more violent ones because you see at the beginning, he sort of beats up his girlfriend and takes this guy's heart out, which you obviously don't see, but that's what he does. Gets jealous of the other guy, and then there's a few other scenes where the dude gets locked up in this air container and he gets his head pretty much explodes. Yeah. So there's that, and Timothy Dalton, I love the idea of the movie. He's trying to infiltrate this big organization headed by Fran Sanchez because he's trying to revenge his friend. So he doesn't care about his own job because he gets his license revoked, because actually the film was going to be called that, License Revoked.
Yeah.
But now,
and don't forget Wayne Newton.
Exactly. Wayne Newton is Professor Joe, the sort of, what is it, the religious dude. He's trying to proclaim all this stuff. So he was great in it too, Wayne Newton. And Timothy Dalton, the scene with sort of the big truckers at the end is great. But just the idea of him sort of infiltrating this organization, that's the part I like about it. And, setting these guys up to fall and eventually confronting him at the end for his friend, which is great because...
it's one of the most violent Bonds ever, and I got in trouble for that. but I really enjoyed it.
It really is.
I guess.
It was great. I think it added a lot to it. I mean, you see it now in the Craig movies anyway. It gets more intense now because of the time. But yeah, that was late 80s, so interesting. And I actually liked the song as well. Gladys Knight did the song License to Kill, so I enjoyed that. So that's unfortunately for Timothy Dalton, he only did 2. I wish he did more, because I think we would have had even some better movies as well. I really think maybe another 1 or 2 would have been great. So that's that. So now we come on to a new Bond, Pierce Brosnan, my favorite of his, and one of my favorites, GoldenEye. And again, this became very popular because of the Nintendo 64 game, GoldenEye. I used to remember playing that one in the 90s because I grew up in that era. And this was one of the other films that I first saw as well on VHS. And I think it's pretty much Brosnan's best. I think it has a great story. The villains in this are great. Sean Bean, Fran Jennison, you got General Oromov, I can't remember his name, and the other guy, Boris Greshenko, Alan Cumming, I think it is. So great movie. What's your thoughts on GoldenEye?
I love GoldenEye.
Switch over here. Bear with me. You just keep talking. I'm going to switch over.
I'm a huge Sean Bean fan, so you always know he's going to die because of Sean Bean. But no, I love the movie GoldenEye. Of course, this wasn't supposed to be Pierce Brosnan's first film, his first film was was supposed to be the first film that Timothy Dalton did. He actually was chosen for the role, and because he did an extra season of Remington Steele, which only turned out to be a couple movies, they had to keep kind of they had to, like, I guess Timothy Dalton kind of filled the place till Pierce Brosnan, who they wanted before, in a way, came into it. I pretty much like everything about this one. This is not my favorite Pierce Brosnan one, but I think it's in my top two favorite Pierce Brosnan ones, and you're going to be surprised what my favorite Pierce Brosnan one is. But
yeah, I think I know. But yeah, sorry, I'm just back on my computer. I'm going to come back on screen in a second. But let's see here.
But what a start! Like, what a start for a guy to come in and just have Goldeneye like right out of the bat. Like, neither one of the other actors at this point has had like a movie that good for the beginning film. Even Timothy Dalton.
I agree.
But and also like Goldeneye. I mean, like, if you played Odd Job, that's don't play Odd Job when you.
Yeah, well, I love playing Odd Job because you're using the hat. You can use the hat to kill him because I love playing as Odd Job because me and my friend would always play that game over and over and over. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And as I said, GoldenEye really, I guess, sort of put the action movie again up there as well because it came out in the middle 90s and there was a lot of action movies coming out at that time. And I just love the seriousness of it. I think the story is really good. And I love how there's this agent that he has to kill him, but it's also his friend. He's got a personal connection with the character, Sean Bean. So that's great as well.
Yeah, the whole Janice storyline is amazing. I love that.
Yep. So we're going to move on from GoldenEye to my least favorite, Pierce Brosnan. I'm thinking about Timothy Dalton again. I'm thinking of watching Living Daylights and License to Kill after we've spoken. But Tomorrow Never Dies, my least favorite. I just couldn't get into it at all. I actually tried watching it a few weeks ago again, and I was bored. I'll be honest with you. Just the villains, it just did nothing for me. What's your thoughts?
Tomorrow Never Dies. That's when we're getting into the whole kind of like manipulate the media, right?
Yeah.
I like parts of it. There's some good action sequence in the film. The girl, the girl that's with him, I like her. It's okay. Like, again, like, it's one that's okay. It's watchable. It's definitely got a lot of good action sequences in the film. Jonathan Pryce is definitely a good actor to do the role of of the villain. So everything should work, but all the pieces are there, but it doesn't come completely together. It is a good film. The action's fantastic. But then again, that's the thing. All the pieces are there, but I don't think that it comes completely together in the end. It does. It's a good ride, but it's one that you're going to be like, okay, I'll watch this one again down the road.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a bad Brosnan, but that's probably
for me,
my
it's in my bottom 5. I think it's in my bottom 5. I just didn't get any. The only good thing, I'll tell you, the one good sequence I had with the film was when he meets that Dr. Kaufman and they had that little discussion in the hotel room when he's killed Terry Hatcher's character, Paris. And I love that scene. And then he says at the end, I'm just a professional doing a job. And Bond's like, me too. And he shoots him. I love that little scene he has with that. I think it's like professional hitman or something. Apart from that, as I said, Jonathan Pryce did nothing for me as like a media mogul. Michelle Yeoh was okay. I mean, she's a pretty cool actress in herself. I think she's a Chinese actress, isn't she? She was in a lot of great films, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon's a good one of hers. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't get into the story at all. Found it fairly boring, to be honest with you. And Sheryl Crow, the theme song, probably one of my least favorites, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like Michelle Yeoh. I thought she was really good in it, and her action scenes are really, are fantastic.
I think she's probably like trained in martial arts and all that. So I think a lot of those scenes were actually her. She didn't need stunts, which is great to see because I know Pierce Brosnan had to get stunts for a lot of his action scenes. So yeah, she was good in it, but not much more really else to say about it. I just don't. No. There's not a lot of lines, and I just can't really get into it.
Yeah, no, it's the thing. Like you said, that one sequence there, and this would become something within the Brosnan films, is that he would get the point where, like, wow, there's that really good scene where he really epitomizes Bond as everybody knows him, whether it be movie or book. And we didn't get enough of that
That's right.
throughout his series, because he, like, you're looking at a guy that looks like the character. You know, you think, okay, this is kind of like what character will look like. This is a guy that can play both sides of it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know, there's a lot of wasted potential in the Brosnan.
Yeah,
series.
there is. So now we move on to the first film, as I said earlier, that I first actually saw in cinemas. So this was the first one I did view, The World's Not Enough. And this is actually interesting one. It's sort of, again, in the middle for me. Definitely a step up from Tomorrow Never Dies. And I love the scene at the beginning, like on that boat, the Q boat, and he's driving around London, chasing after that girl. And you see the big dome, and I think Pierce Brosnan's really good in it. Sophie Massour as Electra. I think she's a French actress. She was great in it. Really, really good. And you had Robert Carlyle as Renard. The last little tidbit, the last Desmond Llewellyn film, he actually died in a car crash after filming this, sadly. And I thought it was good. It was a solid movie. I don't really like the Renard part as much. I more like the Sophie Massour aspect of it. I think her sort of tricking Bond and pretending to be this innocent girl is good. And I like how M plays a bigger role in this one as well. Judi Dench, she's almost like a mother figure to Electra, which is interesting. So, again, great. There's some great action scenes in this, but I know a lot of people don't like this one as much. What's your thoughts?
It's my favorite of the Pierce Brosnan films.
Wow.
This is the one. This is the one that I think hits it home most. I love the character of Electra, and he plays Bond better than I've seen him play Bond in any of the other films, and he plays Bond more like I expect Bond to be in the series. And the scene where he kills Electra is that's intense. That is the Bond that I want to see, and it was shocking.
Yeah,
but it's exactly what I wanted to see, and it's like. I've been waiting all these movies to really see this. Like,
exactly. She's like, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do it with someone you slept with. And he's just brutal, isn't he? He's just so cold.
Yeah, and it's like, you think like Sean Connery's cold? No, that's Cole. That's the coldest we've ever seen Bond. And it kind of like harkens back to the Connery days, where he just kind of like leans over and just shoots the guy type of thing. But this was, I liked. A lot of people didn't like this one because Denise Richards, right? Was in this
Denise one? Richards is probably Christmas Jones. Christmas only comes once a year.
Yeah, and it's like she couldn't be a
nuclear physicist. Yeah,
why not? Like, because the nuclear physicist can't be attractive. I always never got that. Oh, it's Denise Jones. She can't be a nuclear physicist. So I'm like, well, yeah, she probably could be. Maybe not doing but you can have a nuclear physicist that looks like that. Yeah. But no, I didn't. That for me, that was my favorite of the Brosnans. And Sophia Marceau, I really, really liked.
Yeah, she was great. She really probably a great aspect of the film. And I said the Garbage did the theme song, which I actually liked the theme song. I really enjoyed listening to that from time to time. And this is one of the entertaining films. It's not hard. It's not a hard watch at all. The World's Not Enough. It's got a lot of interest in there and intrigue and a lot of nice action set pieces, and Brosnan's great. So nothing really too bad to be said about World's Not Enough. So now we come on to the last Pierce Brosnan film, which I'm a guilty pleasure with. I've got a guilty pleasure with Die Another Day. This was the second film that I remember seeing, and I remember seeing this film like first day it came out over here. It started becoming a trend of mine where I'd see the Bond movie, the new Bond films, like first day. So I had a great time with Die Another Day. I know a lot of people hate it. The theme song, like, I love it. Madonna. I think it's a great, like, techno sort of pop song. I love the beginning of the film. I think that's probably the best part, when he's in North Korea and he gets captured. During the song, you see him getting tortured. You never see Bond in that position. That's the first time he's really, basically on death's door almost. And I know it dips down after that with the whole gene therapy thing and the face transplants with Toby Stevens as the main villain. And you got Halle Berry, Jinx Jordan, you got Rick Yoon from the Fast and Furious movies as the henchman, and then Rosamund Pike as sort of the fatale, which I really like Rosamund Pike.
Oh, I love Rosamund Pike.
yeah, Gone Girl, of course, she's nuts in that. But
Yeah.
she was good. I liked her, and it's sort of almost a homage to the Bond films because you see Halle Berry do the Ursula Andress thing from the ocean. You see that, and you kind of see when he goes to visit Q, which actually John Cleese plays in this one. You see some of the old gadgets in the warehouse. You see the old Thunderball jetpack and the crocodile from Octopussy. So it's just a nice little homage to some of the older films, and I know it's a bit of the whole plan of the villains is sort of out of this world, but hey, it's fun. What are your thoughts?
Well, honestly, this is one that I was really shocked about because I loved it. And when it got such backlash, I was really surprised because this is the anniversary Bond film, so that's where you're getting all these homages all throughout the film.
Exactly.
But when I thought, yeah, I'll agree with you. Like the opening for this is, probably one of the best openings for any Bond film. Like out there, I love the opening for this film. I love the torture sequence. I love Madonna's song. This was Madonna in her like techno, like pop, Daft Punk years.
Well at the knife fight. She had a little cameo,
which I didn't mind. People are always like bragging on Madonna, but I really like her little scene. It's exactly what it is. It's just a little sequence, a little cameo for her.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a lot that's really bad. People have talked about the invisible car and stuff like that. And I'm like, have you seen the other Bond films? We've had voodoo in these films. We've had guys like blow up, and like we've had like outer space and running across crocodiles. There's nothing in this that's overly kind of like, I can't believe that's in a Bond film. No, these are Bond films. They're not realistic. They're not supposed to be, because people weren't looking at them as looking at the Bond films from back then. They're looking at the other films that are going on around them, like the Bourne films and Mission Impossibles and stuff like that, instead of comparing it to the Bond films that came before it. And I think that's the reason that it gets so much hate. But it's a lot of fun. It's a really fun film, and it's got a great cast. Tofi Stevens actually isn't a bad actor.
Great
actor.
Yeah. He's great.
And he's got a punchable face, and he's got one of those villains you want to punch.
Exactly. He had that sort of like snarly face in the movie when they're having the knife fight, which is a great scene where they're in that club. I love that. That's great. And even the whole Ice Palace thing is, I know a little bit over the top, but fun,
But that's the thing.
Setting. I think it was in Iceland. So, yeah, it is. I can see why some people really don't like it because there is a lot of cheese to it. But if you're looking for entertainment, you're looking for some, just an easy watch, Die Another Day is one of those. I think it is, in my view, for sure. So,
if you're not a purist and you're really like just having fun with the movie, Die Another Day is a fun film. And Rosamund Pike is going to go down as one of the hottest Bond girls,
Miranda
in my opinion.
I agree with that. Love my blonde. So there you go. So now we come towards the end of our come to our last actor, our current Bond actor, Daniel Craig, in his first film, Casino Royale, which came out in 2006. Well, it was definitely a change from scenery and change of pace to the Brosnan. Much more serious, this much more darker, more emotionally sort of attaching in some ways, and just, quite a different step forward. So what are your thoughts on Casino Royale? A lot of people say it's one of the best.
I love Casino Royale. I do, and it wasn't my first time like watching Daniel Craig in a movie. But where's that? I'm trying to find it now. Because the first movie that I saw him in, it was kind of a bad guy. Which one?
Was it Layer Cake? He was in.
Yes, thank you. Layer Cake. I love Layer Cake. So when people said that, like the guy from Layer Cake was going to be James Bond, and everybody was saying he couldn't do it. They were saying, well, there's all these like James Blonde things going around, and I'm like, no, I think the guy has the chops to do the film. And then we get the opening, and it's such an incredible opening. And the song, well, you know my name.
Chris Cornell.
Incredible, Chris Cornell. Amazing song. Actually, I'm not going to lie, I'll be honest here, was my ringtone for the longest time. Actually. Exactly. So if anybody called me, I was at work once, actually, in St. John's, and I'm like, and I'm just sitting down. I forgot to turn my phone down, and all of a sudden, like, because I had on blast, and the James Bond, my name, it's like blasts all of a sudden in the middle of my workplace. And I'm like, yeah, this is. But no, I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic film. It was a great start for him. I love the use of parkour. That was incredible. That sequence was amazing. The villain by Mads Mikkelsen is, again, love Mads Mikkelsen. Eva Green, who is great in this. A beautiful Bond girl. And of course, if you like Eva Green and you like this movie, watch Penny Dreadful. Ran 3 seasons. Great show. Yeah, no, I can't. There's not too. I don't think there's anything really wrong that I can say about this film. When I first saw it as a purist, there were certain things that I wanted to hear him say. When he asked him, like, how would you like how'd you like your martini type thing, and he says, "Do I look like I care?" I'm like, yes, you care, yes, you care, damn it, because you should
He's
be.
an asshole, man. Like, he just does things. Remember, like, someone thinks he's like a porter or something at the little hotel, and what he grabs it, smashes the car, and throws the keys away. He just doesn't care, and it's just edgy. Like, I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I was like, I don't know, but it's sort of again grown on me. I get what they're doing, and I said that first scene when it's black and white, which is great, and he sort of goes in this guy's like double agent's office and talking about that first kill, and then he's like, the second, well, it's considerably easy. So it's like when he gets his license to kill, of course, and just the introduction, and it's a fresh approach to the character, which I think Bailey needed. You're right, Eva Green. I love the attachment. I think there's great chemistry between her and Daniel Craig in this. He really falls for her again. As I said before, not a lot of these Bond girls, you can see that real chemistry, but with Eva Green,
Yeah, it's there.
I see it there. And as a Mads Mikkelsen, the only part I was annoyed about with him was how he kind of got killed off. Spoiler, everyone's seen it in the chat, but it was just so anticlimactic. They had this great poker tournament, great poker confrontation, and they're going
that was
back
amazing, that sequence.
And Bond got poisoned, and he almost dies from the game, and he comes back at him all fresh. And I love the poker, and I'm big on poker myself, so I enjoyed that. But yeah, just how he ends, kind of gets shot. But obviously at this point, we're not aware of the whole quantum thing and Mr. White. We find out a bit later who's really behind all this. But it's interesting, and as I said, it's really grown on me. I love all the great action scenes, that running thing at the beginning where he's chasing this dude through all these different little obstacles is amazing. I think it's like a professional sport where the guys from France where he's jumping through all these different things. It's awesome. And as I said, it has that emotional element towards, because he sort of falls in love and then he realizes what's happened here, and the great ending too. So, very solid.
It's my least favorite Felix.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright.
Yep. I like the actor, but I just don't like him as Felix.
Yeah, and not really used a lot, right? Just not really. I actually like Mathis. What's that guy's name? I probably can't remember off the top of my head, but he was kind of like Bond's ally in this as well. I can't remember. I think it's a Mexican actor. I'll have to go back to it later, but he was great. He's in the Quantum of Solace as well. But
we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, we're about to get to that because we're about to get to my least favorite Bond movie, and that is Quantum of Solace. And Aaron agrees. So we're not going to stay on here long, but what can I say? It just doesn't work, this film. It just doesn't. There's no interest. There's pretty much Bond villain is irrelevant. It just doesn't. He doesn't do anything. He's not intimidating. He doesn't threaten Bond in any way. The Bond girl is very out of it. Like, she's an Olga Kulenko, which she's actually good on a few things, but this, no.
Yeah. Well, it's not her fault. Like, it's badly done. I mean, it's badly scripted.
Yeah.
It's the worst Bond song. Like, it's just horrible. It's a horrible theme song. It's a horrible song. That combination does not work. But what I really hate about this one, I just don't like the direction is horrible. The guy doesn't know how to direct action. It's shaky. It's all over the place. And as cold as Bond can be, like in all of his films, he's never cold to like the people that he cares about. And like you mentioned, the Mexican guy from Casino Royale dies in this one. And the way that he treats him, I really didn't like it. It really turned me off. I hated that sequence in that film, and I think it's the part where I kind of like emotionally detach myself. The way that Bond emotionally detaches himself and like just takes his friend's like kind of wallet type thing. I'm like, yeah, no, this is not Bond. Like, this is in no way Bond to me. I know he's supposed to be like darker and edgier, and it came off as really just trying to be dark and edgy rather than actually having a good script where it comes off as organic. Nothing's organic in Quantum of Solace. It all seems forced.
And they have like screen cards. Why do we need that? Like, it keeps telling you where we are. Like, we don't need that. We'll figure it out. Like, in other Bond movies, it doesn't have that. And as to the villain, like, for me, if you don't have a great villain in a Bond movie, it really kills it. And it's just, he doesn't do anything. He's just doing this like industrialist thing. And even at the end, when he leaves him out in the desert with an oil little can, it has no impact because he didn't threaten Bond really in any way. Like, you never thought Bond was in trouble at all in this movie. And the whole then backstory between the Bond girl and this general, think he sort of abused her or her mother or whatever. There's no attachment to that because we don't care as much because she hasn't come out. We haven't seen enough of her character to care. So not good at all. Action sequences pretty uninteresting, and there's just nothing memorable. I've only seen this one probably, I'd say maybe twice, and I've got no aspect to come back to it. There's no interest or intrigue for me to say, I'm going to go sit and watch Quantum of Solace again, you know?
I've never gotten through it twice. I watched it the first time that I saw it in theater, and I bought it, and I tried to watch it again, and every time that I try to watch it, I can never get through it. It's the one I can't get through, and that's pretty sad because Bond is a formula that you should be able to watch. Like it's like TBS, like TBS is a channel here in North America, basically, and they do Bond marathons all the time.
Yeah. I do one over here all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and this is one I don't think I even have on the background. To be honest,
I mean, there's bad Bond movies. We've nearly gone through every film, which has been great. We've talked about some are better than others, of course, but this one, even if you're like, sometimes you're not feeling great and you just see what's on TV and, it might come, Thunderball might come on, you only twice. You'll probably go and watch that. But this, you got no interest at all. There's no, nothing in this film can get you interested to sit down for 2 hours or whatever and watch it. It's terrible.
There's nothing in the film at all. I mean, there's nothing I can even in the worst ones. Even if you don't like Moonraker, there are aspects of Moonraker that you can find the fun. But if you don't like Thunderball that much, even if you only live twice, the volcano sequences, the fight in the hotel with the big Hawaiian wrestler guy, there's things you can say that are good. There's things that you can actually say, okay, I remember the scene. This is a really good scene. Quantum of Solace doesn't have it, and right from the beginning, it gets there with the big chase sequence, and you got this whole kind of Bourne Identity shaky cam, but done really bad. And I'm like, who the hell directed this film? Because it's crap. I mean, the action that you live and die with your first action sequence with a lot of these films. It sets the tone.
That's the movies are so great. We'll talk about this sort of because we're summing up a few things here because we're getting close to the end of talking about the series. The action scenes at the beginning, the pre-title scenes are very important, I feel, in Bond films. A lot of them really set the tone and set the mood and set your interest. I mean, as a film viewer, if you're not captivated in the first, 10, 15 minutes.
It's the hook, man.
It's the hook. It lives and dies by the sword. So, Quantum does nothing of that. It's sort of, I know it follows on from what happens in Casino Royale, and it tries almost to be a sequel, but it doesn't work. So I think we've talked enough about this bad film. Because
we have, actually, okay.
24th, and now we're going to move on to a favourite of mine, one that, thank God, came back to something great, is Skyfall. 2012, of course. Really thank God. We had Sam Mendes, a great director, did this. I think Daniel Craig, this is probably my favorite of his at the moment. I really enjoyed his performance in this one. We have Javier Bardem as the villain, who is a great villain.
Incredible.
No Country for Old Men, where he sort of first came on the scene. He was great. Judi Dench has a way more extended role in this. She's a big part. She really is the Bond girl in this, really, because there isn't a lot of other Bond girls in there. There's only a side girl that he talks to and spends time with a little bit, but Judi Dench is the girl, really. and plays a huge role because she forms the backstory of what happened to this Javier Bardem character, which is interesting. You got a great song by Adele, which actually won the Oscar. I think that was the first Bond song to win an Oscar.
Oh yeah, she's a Shirley Bassey this generation for this type of stuff.
Bassey, which I love. That song, and yeah, just great. I love the scene at the beginning. I love the scenes at the end where he's getting chased through London and the train station, and then to get more of an understanding of Bond's home, you see Skyfall is basically the castle where his family was sort of lived in Scotland, which was cool, and you get to see the little Aston Martin again, and it's almost like at the end, like a home invasion film. He sets all these traps, and they're all coming after him and M. I love that.
Yeah, like this could have went wrong so many ways. I mean, like let's face it. They said we're going to get a bit into Bond's origin. There's so many ways that is it going to take away from the mystique? Is it going to take away from the whole Bond character and the mythos? No, not at all. They did everything right in this film. This is the best performance by Daniel Craig.
Yes.
Like he's great all through. Like even in Quantum of Solace, like he's good, but he's not giving anything. Not giving anything to work with. Skyfall is amazing. The theme song is incredible. It harkens back to the Shirley Bassey type of themes from the Sean Connery era, and it's pretty much like if you take from the seriousness of from Russia with Love and the spy aspects of that, and you kind of blend that with Goldfinger, and because you got the tropes and you got all the big things, you kind of get Skyfall. You get like what most people. What a lot of people at least consider, like, if not the best, one of the two best Bond films that's been ever made. It's usually in the top three of everybody's list.
Yes, it is.
And Javier Bardem is amazing in this. I just love his character so much, and he's on the screen. Like sometimes I find there's Bond villains that are on too much or on too little. He's on just the right amount.
Enough, and just his entrance to the film when he's walking. It's like a great shot where you just see him from a distance and he just walks slowly towards the camera. And when Bond's getting tied to that chair and he sort of tells him what's going on, that he's behind it and he actually was part of MI6 as well. And something happened to him, which, you get an understanding of later on with M's involved. So, yeah, it's that slimy kind of psychotic character with that blonde, funny hairdo. It's great.
Yeah.
It really.
He does. Like he's amazing. He's got such presence. Like in any movie, Bardem I think has just amazing presence. But he brings everything that he has into this role. And the kind of semi homoerotic sequence where he's talking about. It's meant. It plays well, and I think it works really well within this film. Overall, one of the top Bond films of all time and it's top for a reason. It just does so much.
It's really rewatchable. It's really, as I said, it's one of those films, high echelon of the Bond films. It's in everyone's top 5, top 10. A lot of people love Skyfall, and it needed to be good, I think, after Quantum of Solace, because I think Bond fans and people in general were starting to think, is this series towards the end? Is it the end of the Bond? But I think Skyfall really showed. And thank God for Sam Mendes. I mean, we should mention him, a great director who did American Beauty and some other great films. Really added a lot to this film. The style of it, how he scripted the characters, and everything else is awesome. So big thumbs up for Skyfall for sure. And let's see in the chat. Okay, so then we'll go on to the most recent Bond that's been made until we are back here in 2020, 2015, Spectre. And, a lot of people were disappointed with this, as we said earlier on, because Skyfall was so good. I think some people thought this was a step down, but I really enjoyed it. I saw more of a vulnerable side to Daniel Craig in this one. As I said earlier, I really love Christoph Waltz as Blofeld. Song's great again. I think that's Sam Smith writing on the wall. The Bond girl is great. The girl from Blue is the Warmest Color. The French actress. And it's good. I think it's really interesting. Some great scene locations. As I said, a bit of a throwback to Roger Moore a little bit there. He's even wearing that white suit that we see Roger Moore wear a couple of times, and Sean Connery in Diamonds Are Forever. So, Yeah, I really enjoy it. I find Spectre a lot of fun. It's kind of sits in the middle for me where I can have a good time with it. It's not top, but it's not bottom either. I think it's great. What are your thoughts?
I love Spectre. I think it's a love letter to the Roger Moore era of James Bond.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really do. I think I would have liked more Batista because I really think he's good.
David Bautista is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but but no, there's not much that I can say that I actually dislike about
Mm,
Spectre. Like, is it as good as Skyfall? No, but there's not going to be a lot of movies that are as good as Skyfall. There's not
no.
a lot of Sean Connery movies that are as good as Goldfinger. There's not a lot of Roger Moore movies that are as good as the Spy I Love Me. But the thing is that those movies after it's still they're still good movies. It's just you get this really good like hitting the top of it type of
Exactly.
thing. And Skyfall did that. So was this movie like kind of what was it? Was it Skyfall? No, but was it like a good Bond movie? It was a really good Bond movie. And I think at the end of the day, you can't say, okay, it's not as good as the last movie. Is it as good? Is it a good Bond film in its own right? Like, does it stand? And I think it does. It does stand the test of time. I do like I am glad that they put more humor into Spectre. I did kind of dig that, and I like Christoph Waltz. And he's an odd actor. He does kind of odd, kind of like fun things, and it's like Javier Bardem. I think he does. He's not on the set. They're both fantastic actors,
Mm,
and they're both different actors. They're both kind of weird, strange actors,
yeah,
and
exactly.
they bring this into the roles. And he does a good job with Blofeld. And I think it kind of suffered from the whole like aspect of the Star Trek Beyond Darkness aspect of like, oh, guess who this character is? We know who it is. Don't
Yeah,
try and pretend it's somebody else. We
yeah.
know that's Blofeld.
And you coming
Uh,
in before, I pretty much guessed him before I saw it. I was like, yeah, I know
yeah,
who this is. 'Cause,
but no, I thought he did a great job.
exactly. I think it has everything that it's fun. There's a lot of great scenes in there. I also like how they use like Moneypenny a lot more and Q. They're out in the field too. They're part of this. A lot of
Yeah,
the
I
films
love the new Money
include
Penny.
that. I think Naomi Harris, I think it is. That's her name. I just
Yeah,
love how they're used a lot more because most of the time in all the other older films, they're just sitting at the desk and they're sort of telling Bond about the mission. Moneypenny and Bond flirt a little bit, then that's it. These ones are using guns, they're running around, Q's in the field running, giving him gadgets. It's cool how
and,
they're using those characters more, and I hope they do that in the new one.
and if you're a fan of Sherlock, we get Moriarty in a way in
Exactly.
this film here, in the most obvious secret villain ever.
Yeah.
But like I like him. He does. I think some people were disappointed he didn't do more in the film because he is famous as a character of Moriarty. But if you really think about it, Moriarty wasn't actually in the Sherlock series a lot as the character Moriarty. But no, I like that. And one thing I got to say, Ray Fiennes, which we kind of glossed over, but I think he does a really good job in bringing the M, the modern day, like the younger version of the M that we would see in the Sean Connery films, into
Exactly.
the series.
I think
And
it
he's
needed a
more,
good character after Judi Dench because Judi Dench was solid and probably near the end was solid, but Ralph Fiennes is really like adds another element to it. So I like all the choices. Q, Moneypenny, and M is good.
yeah.
I really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's Spectre. And now I guess we'll kind of sum things up and get around a few questions, and so people start asking before we maybe finish up here. But I guess some of the questions that we've asked before, we'll ask now is favorite Bond villain. We'll get to that first. What's your favorite Bond villain? You can give a couple. You don't have to just do one.
My favorite Bond villain. Oh man. Obviously, the most iconic villain is always going to be Blofeld, but it's not my favorite villain.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my favorite Bond villain. Wow. You
Yeah.
go first. What do you think?
Now you're putting it on me.
Yeah, I
Okay.
am, but anyway.
Well, I mean, as you said, I'm not going to count Blofeld for this, even though Blofeld's such a big part of it. I mean, it's Bond's nemesis, but it's been played by so many characters. But I mean, thinking of Bond villains, thinking what makes a Bond villain and the style and how it adds to the movie itself, which in my opinion is very important. Without a good Bond villain, the film fails. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm going to name a couple. I think Gert Frober's Goldfinger obviously is an obvious choice.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about that. I love Yaphet Kotto, Dr. Kananga, Mr. Big. I think he's great. Well, I guess Robert Shaw's Red Grant is almost a henchman, but we can put that in villain. Robert Shaw's great. I kind of like Drax, Michael Lonsdale. I think he's just that style. He's so quiet but deadly in a way. You know what I mean? He's just so everything he says, how he speaks, is just I don't know, intriguing to me. And probably Javier Bardem as well. I'll put him in there. I think
That's
he
what I
was
was
a
just
great
thinking. Like, definitely.
Mm,
Like, for me, like, when you asked me who my favorite villain was, and I had to think, like, who had all of it, like, Goldfinger's character, Javier Bardem's character, yes. Like, those two, like, stand out right away. Like, as being, like, villains that really, not just are part of the movie, but they actually drive the movie forward. And you need that with a Bond villain. And I think, we got to give a nod to the original Doctor No,
yeah,
because not the best Bond film,
Joseph
but
Wallace.
definitely one of the better villains
Yeah.
in the series. And he sets the template for the villains that are yet to come.
Mm.
Odd Job, like, although
Odd Job.
he's a henchman, but he's
And
definitely
what
definitely great choice.
Love it. Jaws, of course. Someone just said in the chat, the
Oh yeah.
the teeth, metal. It's Jaws.
Yeah, he's incredible. Like Richard Kiel, did like a lot of like those kind of those star roles, and actually did a lot of comedies too. Actually,
Yeah, he was
in
in
his day.
Happy Gilmore, and he was in a Western that I love. When we do the Western stream, I guess at some point, Pale Rider. He was in that.
Oh yeah.
Richard
Do you know what I
Kiel.
remember him from? That it stands out, aside from being like in a couple episodes of Night Stalker, the Kolchak series. He was actually in this comedy where this guy made these jeans that it was a weird comedy, assless jeans. So you get Richard Kiel like walking around in like these, like, I guess these jeans with like kind of plastic on the back of them, kind of these like super assless jeans. I cannot remember the name of that movie. If anybody knows it, they can say it there.
Put it in the chat.
But yeah, he's definitely that's definitely no, yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of classic villains. Not the villain from Quantum of Solace.
No, the villain from Quantum of Solace is the worst. Let's put it that way. I mean,
it's one of our worst villains.
Bad movies like Christopher Walken is so memorable. I mean, not the best movie, as I said earlier, but great villain because Christopher Walken plays Christopher Walken. The funny style, but also can play that psychotic villain too, which is great. So most films have, as I said, we've gone through all the films briefly. I mean, we could be here for hours talking about it, but I think those villains that we've mentioned really are the best. I think they pretty much sum up what a Bond villain should be and is. That's that. Another question that was mentioned earlier is favorite Bond girls. I think we got to name something here.
Favorite Bond girl. I love Tracy. That's the thing. I really love Tracy, and like she's never not the most like voluptuous Bond girl, but I love her. I love her character. She's probably the most fleshed out of like the original Bond girls for me. So Tracy has always been like a favorite of mine, and I had a big crush on Diana Rigg when I was younger too. I have the Avengers series. But yeah. But as for like the what's her name again? The girl from The Spy Who Loved Me.
Barbara Bach. Yeah, that's probably my favorite. Barbara Bach. Yeah. I think she was married to Ringo Starr, one of the Beatles.
Yeah, and like again, like the girl from Carol Bouquet.
Yeah,
from
Only. Yep.
Amazing. Like there's weak spots in that film. She's not one of them.
She's a character.
Yeah, she's well done. As for like the later ones, there's always like interesting like female characters in the later films. But I'll be honest with you, the most interesting female characters are still in some of the earlier films and some of the Roger Moore films, stuff like that. Those are some of the stronger ones.
A few in my we mentioned this earlier. Jane Seymour, Solitaire. That was actually her first movie too, and damn,
she was gorgeous, man.
There's her. Even Maud Adams is great. I mean, really good for movies. I mean, Octopussy and Man with Golden Gun. She was great. Eva Green, probably one of the better modern day Bond girls, I think. Probably the best out of all the Daniel Craig ones, anyway. Got Halle Berry, obviously great actress. Just her character was kind of, I don't know.
I didn't mind her. I mean, like I like Rosamund Pike. I thought Rosamund Pike was cute, and I just liked her character.
I love Rosamund. Yeah,
but yeah, no, I liked her. If I don't like, as far as like a worse Bond girl, I really can't think of like a Bond girl that I don't remember the girl in Quantum of Solace. I guess I'll go with her because I don't remember who she is.
Kalenko, yeah.
But she was good looking, but I just didn't like the character. And then nothing
Yeah.
there.
So
but no, like, yeah.
There isn't much. And then I think Blur of Order was the other question that he asked, which almost sums up the series as well, is your favorite song, Bond song.
Oh, okay. You Know My Name.
Yep.
Honestly, I'm surprised, but if you go on YouTube, you can watch this like Bond tribute video, and it plays the You Know My Name song, and it shows all the Bond like clips of all the Bond movies, and nothing is going to pump you for watching a James Bond movie more than that like 4 minute like YouTube video. Trust me, check it out. It's really good, and I've watched it several times. It's in my queue list of like ones kind of to pump me. When sometimes before I do a video, I'll listen to some music to get ready to get like. Especially if I'm not like exactly in the most hyper mood before I come on screen.
Yeah.
Like I'll listen to music. But secret behind the camera. But yeah, that's one of the ones that I listen to. That one and To Live and Die in LA, which is not a Bond song, but still it could be. It could actually be a good Bond song.
Live and Die in LA, great. Yep. Yeah. I know that. I've seen that.
But no, I actually that's probably my favorite of the modern Bond songs. If I'm going to go with the older stuff, then I don't know. I love For Your Eyes Only. I love Sheen Houston. I think she's incredible.
And that's Robbie's favorite in the chat. He says For Your Eyes Only. Yep. Brian
and
says
I think
he does it better. Nice.
Who does a better? Great song by Carly Simon.
Yep.
I think that and not a lot of people are going to love this one because the movie wasn't the best. But again, A View to a Kill. I love that, and I love the video, the cheesy like Duran Duran video that they have for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I do. I'm a kid of the '80s, so of course I like that. but yeah, no, that's one that definitely stands out.
Living Daylights. I love that one. Great.
Oh yeah,
I love that one a lot. That's definitely one of the ones I play over and over a lot.
That's Aha, right? For that one, right?
What's that?
Living Daylights is Aha, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was trying to remember, like, is that Aha? Yes, it is, right? So yeah, no, I love like, there's a lot of good Bond songs, and you can't. And if I'm going to go with Shirley Bassey, like I'm going to go with Goldfinger because it's just a classic.
That's the iconic song, and then
yeah,
I mean all of them really. Matt Monro, Russian Love, Tom Jones. I mean, you think of all the artists that did it. Some big name artists that have done Bond songs. You know, Paul McCartney, of course, Live and Let Die.
Yeah, Live and Let Die. Well, I've got to forget that one. That's one of my favorites.
There's a cover of it, so even songs that even had covers. So yeah, most of them are pretty good. There's not too many that I don't really dislike. I think Smile on Me, Jared's Only, obviously. I mean, I guess GoldenEye, I don't remember much. Tina Turner did that one. I wasn't big on that one, I guess.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's one I hardly remember, the Tina Turner GoldenEye. And Sheryl Crow obviously did Tomorrow Never Dies, which I don't have much memory of.
Yeah, so it's all right. It's standard. It's Sheryl Crow. And not that she's a bad singer or anything like that. It's just that it's a by the numbers song.
Yeah, and then as I said, we both agree that we like Madonna and Die Another Day, even though a lot of people don't. But we will go. I actually enjoy that one, so that's a good modern one. And obviously Adele, Skyfall is great too. So there's some great songs, and as I said, this series brings a lot of joy to me in particular, just because I love the Bond series. As I said, it's my favorite franchise of all time, and I'm gonna hopefully, you know, as it gets on, I know they're going to be making more movies. It just continues to grow, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with the series after Daniel Craig leaves, because pretty certain that he's only got one more. And I just love watching this series. Like all year round, I'll watch Bond movies. Doesn't really matter when or where or what time of the month or whatever. I always enjoy watching Bond films because it's just a great franchise. And I think I've pretty much told all the guys in the chat before, like my favorite Bond films. I think we've sort of already talked a little bit about that, but obviously Goldfinger, Spy Love Me. I think it's Live and Let Die, For Your Eyes Only, Russia Love. They're probably my top 5. I've said that before. I think, and you've pretty much summed up yours. I think Goldfinger is some of your favorites. Is there any other couple that you want to mention or anything else?
I'm trying to think now. So if I was going to pick my favorite from each Bond,
do that. Yep.
My favorite from Connery is definitely Goldfinger.
Yep.
It's the best Bond that he did, and it's one of the best Bond films of all time. It's really hard to choose George Lazenby's favorite Bond. My favorite George Lazenby Bond film.
There's only one. So.
Yeah, but Under Majesty's Secret Service.
Yep.
Again, The Spy Who Loved Me is probably my favorite of the Roger Moore films. But for a long time, I'll be honest with you, it flipped between The Spy Who Loved Me and For Your Eyes Only, because the action set pieces in For Your Eyes Only are some of the best action set pieces in any Bond film. The action just really well shot in that film.
Yeah.
When it comes to Pierce Brosnan, again, Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton. My favorite there is
License to Kill.
Yep, that's the one. And I've been pretty transparent all the way through, so it's not that much of a surprise with mine. And when it comes to Pierce Brosnan, again, it's the what's it called? World's Not Enough, right? World's Not Enough. I love that one. And with Daniel Craig, well, honestly, Skyfall is the best film that he did. And Casino Royale is a great film, and it definitely was on another level after just not having Bond for a while.
Yeah.
But I guess one thing we could mention too is look at the actors that never played Bond.
Exactly. So many possibilities. I mean, and it would have gone so many different directions. That's what I mean. You fans people are not really fans of the series just say, oh, this actor's doing this. But if you're a fan and you start thinking about all the possibilities, the direction could have been totally different. We could have totally different Bond films out there,
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I mean, especially if you've got this Blu-ray, the box set, and you watch all the special features, which I have a lot over the years. And
over and over again.
So many interesting things, guys. So, if you're big into the movies and you haven't watched a lot of these special features, because each movie has pretty much their own documentary. It's got interviews of cast, deleted scenes. It's virtually got everything. And there's a lot of interest to all the screen takes and everything, all the different little interviews that possible actors.
James Brolin.
James Brolin was it. Yep. Tom Selleck, I believe, was a choice back in the day. As I said, John Gavin was a possibility. The list really goes on. There's
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Who's actually born and bred in my own city. So there you go. That would have been interesting. It would have been huge here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many endless possibilities, as I said. And I mean, for me, if we're going on each actor, I mean, I've said it. Sean Connery, Goldfinger, Majesty Secret Service, of course. Spy Who Loved Me, Roger Moore. Living Daylights for me, it's for Timothy Dalton. GoldenEye, Pierce Brosnan, and Skyfall, Daniel Craig. So that's probably my favourites of each actor. And I don't think that'll change for a while yet. I think that's pretty solid. I don't see that changing unless, as far as Daniel Craig goes anyway, maybe this next one will be really, really good. But I think it's going to be hard to top Skyfall for Craig. I really think that's, and as I said it before, it seems to be the third movie where the actor really tops it. Goldfinger, Spy Who Loved Me, Skyfall. There's a pattern there. It's the third movie. So it's great. So, yeah, that's the Bond series. So I'm just looking at people in the chat.
Now, did you say your favorite Bond? Because you said you were your second favorite Bond. Who's your favorite Bond?
Favorite Bond, that's right. We got to get some more less to end these questions. So my favorite Bond is obviously Sean Connery. A few reasons. That was the first Bond movie actor that I ever saw through Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever. I just love his style. I love the physical demeanor of him. And he can play that gentleman as well, but he's a tough Bond. He's a guy that he tells people what to do, and you do it kind of thing. He's very commanding on the screen. He's just great, that style. He looks great in suits, and he fits that spire so well, Sean Connery. And as I said, Roger Moore is a close second. I really love Roger Moore. Sort of more of a gentleman Bond, as I've said. He's got that, as we've already said many times already, that comedic style. But just, yeah, it's something likable about Roger Moore. And I was really sad when he did die. I think it was last year. It was quite a big loss because I know how decent of a person he was in real life. He did a lot for charity. And, so it was actually Sir Roger Moore because he actually became a Sir. So, yeah. Close second as well. But Sean will always be my favourite. That's why I think people have seen in my house, I've got a big frame of Sean Connery as Bond, which I'll have to show another time to Aaron because, I will do that. So, yeah, Sean Connery for me. So I think people in the chat have been sort of saying Roger Moore, Sean Connery. I don't know who else has been here. Quite a few of your viewers are here as well. Nick Gore, Amanda, few other people. So shout outs to those people too for joining through Aaron. I know we had a bit of trouble getting on Aaron.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to figure that out. How he can get on the stream and invite people through his iPad, because we.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to use Google Hangouts for that.
Yeah, I think you do. I think that's what you have to do in the future, because I think, as Robbie said, we need to do a spaghetti western stream at one point, and that would be fun to do that. But yes, next time we'll definitely figure that out. It was kind of on a whim today. We sort of did plan a couple of days ago, but it was kind of on a whim. I just asked Aaron, "Are you free for a few hours?" And it sort of just happened. But next time, we'll plan it a little bit more, and hopefully get on your channel and get that thing working.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But
no, is there any actor that you think could have been Bond, like maybe in a different era, but just didn't do it?
That's a hard question.
I'll mention one right out of the gate, because I guess because I like Roger Moore, because of the Roger Moore thing, and one of the actors that stands out that I always wondered if he ever spoke to was Ian Ogilvy, because he's so much like Moore, and he did do Return the Saint, which was a show that I grew up with as a kid. That I really, and if you've never heard, watch this show, just watch the opening credit sequence it's got one of the best jazz scores for opening music ever. But I just like him, and he's so much like Roger Moore. He's just got that to the point that he actually voices James Bond in actually one of the games. He does. I can't remember which one it is, but
we can talk a little bit about that. The Bond universe is really explored, not even into movies, but video games. There's plenty of games that I actually played back in the day. A lot. I love them. I got them all on PlayStation 2, like Nightfire, Everything or Nothing, from Rush of Love, as we mentioned, GoldenEye, Rogue Agent, Quantum of Solace actually had its own video game, which is
a good game too, actually. A really good game.
I actually finished it on Xbox 360.
Yeah.
The game's better than the movie. Surprisingly.
Much better.
So yeah, Bond actually went out not just books, music, and films, but video games. So it's such a huge franchise.
And cartoons as well. There's James Bond Jr., the TV show that came out.
Yep.
And of course, there was a comic books.
TV show, comic books. I wonder if you reckon they'll ever do like a TV show spin-off, or because you know how big Netflix is these days, and starting to become TV shows are becoming bigger than movies almost. So do you think they'll ever go into that venture?
I don't know if they do Bond. Netflix is going to be, Netflix is in a spot now where there's other people coming up, and I think Disney's going to be one. If anybody could get it, maybe Disney could put the money into something like that, because it's not just Disney Plus, it's Hulu. People forget that, but I would love to see something like that come on there. If I want to see James Bond keep coming to the theater, I do. But spin-off movies maybe, other characters. Now of course there's a couple of James Bond movies we did mention, which of course was the other Casino Royale.
Yes, Brian mentioned in the chat the spin-off, the 60s spoof. Yep.
And of course there's the original the TV movie Casino
TV
Royale that was done as well. Jimmy Bond, right?
Jimmy Bond.
Yeah. But yeah, that was those were they were what they were.
Yeah. David and Peter Sellers. That was funny.
Yeah, it's not my favorite Peter Sellers. I mean, I'll watch What's a New Pussycat anytime over Casino Royale, I'll be honest with you. But they were films, and I guess they deserve at least a little passing acknowledgement anyway.
Exactly.
And it's still, even the TV one, still better than Quantum of Solace.
Exactly. No, yeah, even Casino Royale, the spoof's almost better than Quantum of Solace. But yeah, I did.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I did remember watching that and thinking, what is this? Because I was already a pretty big fan, and when I saw Casino Royale, this spoof, I was like, damn, what is this? Because you saw David Niven, and then there's someone with Kennedy Bond and Peter Sellers, there was Dr. Noah, and I think Ursula Andress was actually in.
She was, yeah.
Yep. So she played.
The thing is that's Ian Fleming's pick for James Bond was always David Niven, actually.
David Niven, yep. Well, I guess because he had the British gentleman aspect, so I can see that. I mean, back in the day, because Sean Connery probably wasn't the first choice. He wasn't that well known. He was more of a stage. So
no, that's the thing. Let's get that guy from Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which is literally the movie he saw that got him James Bond.
Exactly. They saw him, thought it. And who do you think is probably out of the people that have directed more than one? Who do you think's been the best director of the Bond series? Who do you reckon has been? Because most of them have done more than one. I mean, you got Terrence Young, Guy Hamilton. Who's the one in the 80s? John Glenn, who did a lot of the 80s Bond films.
I like John Glenn.
All of them, actually.
But
John Glenn was good.
And the good thing about John Glenn, I think the solid thing about him is that, unlike some of the other, like the later ones, even some of the earlier ones, he was able to, they were able to put like a lot of villains into the movie and actually each give them their own scene. Where none of the, like, even the smaller villains seemed like they were weak or that they were add-ons. Like, nobody seemed like an add-on during the John Glenn era when it came to the villains. Each villain has that cool sequence. Has a cool scene where you're like, yeah, I can see why that villain's put here. I can see why he's doing it. I don't know if he's my favorite, but he's the most influential one to me because I grew up watching those movies in the theater. So that was a big thing with me. But as far as the best director, I don't know. What do you think? You're more the Bondian expert here. So what do you think?
Okay. Well, John Glenn's great. I mean, he did all the 80s films. I mean, I must admit, Sam Mendes does great as well. I mean, his style, and you can see in both Skyfall and Spectre, I think he really appreciates the series. I can tell this guy is a fan. You know what I mean? He really respects the series, and he did a great job putting the character out there. And the stories of his are really interesting. Guy Hamilton was great. He did some really good films. I mean, Goldfinger, obviously, but I'm trying to think of some of the other. I mean, Lewis Gilbert was not a bad director. He did, I think, Spy Love Me, Moonraker, You Only Live Twice. I mean, You Only Live Twice, one of the probably worst, but Lewis Gilbert was pretty good. I mean, all of them have their own style. I mean, you can see, like, John Glenn sort of goes between serious and then he can do comical as well. Guy Hamilton has a bit of both. Terrence Young, who did a couple as well. So they're all pretty good in their own way, you know. Martin Campbell, of course, did GoldenEye and Casino Royale. He great director who also did a few other good action movies. So yeah, they're all good in their own way, except Mark Foster, who did.
Yes, I actually just looked him up to say his name. I'm like, who's the guy that did Common Sauce again? Fuck Mark Foster.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with that.
Peter Hunt directed On a Managed Secret Service, so he only did one. So
which I think was good. He did a good job with that, actually.
First time director, and then I mean, Managed Secret Service. You got to think, new director, new actor. I mean, they did a pretty good job. I mean, when you think about it, Telly Savalas and Diana Rigg were really bigger stars. You know what I mean? That was the interesting part about that as well. How this relatively unknown was the lead guy, but you've got your supporting cast bigger. Where do you see that very often? Not too much. So
yeah, interesting
in that. They're talking in the chat now. John mentioned James Bond Jr. wrote and starred Death by Temptation. Brian says Guy Hamilton. Okay. John Steele says Edis or Dan Stevens for next Bond. Okay. Brian says, I'm in the minority for liking Quantum of Solace. Yeah, Brian's a big fan.
Are you really?
Yeah, we're sort of skimming the chat a bit tonight. But yeah, he's saying this is one of his favorites. Favorite Daniel Craig, he reckons. Jeez.
There's something for everybody. It's not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me, Brian, but that's the fun of the Bond universe, and that's why there's so many fans out there of different movies. I don't think you could sit, 10, 12, 20 people, 100 people in a room, and everyone has the same list of all the ranking of the Bond films. There's no way. I don't think you'd have too many with the exact same list.
Yeah, that's true. I think you're going to get a lot of people have the same top 2 or 3, but
same Goldfinger, maybe one for a lot of people. You're not going to have from 1 to 24 exactly the same. So we've both got Quantum of Solace at 24, but I doubt our ranking of all the rest would be exactly the same.
Even our Tim Dalton ones are different.
Yeah, well, exactly. There you go. Living Daylights for me, and I think there's a few other. You probably have maybe Moonraker a little higher, or what was the other one you were talking about a lot? The Was Not Enough you'd probably have higher than me, for sure.
Yeah. I definitely probably would, because that one's one that I did. That sticks out to me for.
Exactly. So, and Okay, so yeah, there's a few of your watch subscribers here as well, so they're just shouting you out again. That's cool.
I can't see the comments, but hey.
Yeah, yeah. They finally, I said they finally found the stream. I think so. I think what happened was they watched your video and they've had a bit of trouble finding it, but I think they're here most. But most of the regulars are here of mine, like the Blu-ray Hoarder, John Steele, Culture Trini's been here, Brian, Paul Hoax is here. So I know these guys. I don't know these guys are not as big into Bond as me or you, but I know that hopefully they've enjoyed watching and got some more Bond knowledge from this.
Yes, buy the Bond set. So this set here is awesome. Like the Bond set is incredible, and not only that, but it has some of the best features of any like franchise or any movies that you're going to get, especially the early films. The Sean Connery and Roger Moore films have incredible documentaries at the beginning of them.
Oh yeah.
And I've watched through these most watched features in my whole collection of anything that I got is this Bond series right here.
Oh yeah.
And I do regret not keeping them, but the DVD sets as well. They put it 4 volumes, and they were amazing too.
Yeah, I've got.
I wish I still had those.
The individual actors, like, because over here it came out like the Sean Connery box set came out, Roger Moore came out. So I got all the actor box sets and DVDs still. Basically, I think most of the features are the same as the Blu-ray, but there is a few little things that have changed. But I just kept them for memories more, so I've still got all the older films on DVD, and I've got a lot of actual books too, like little things about the films. I've got some of the novels of the Ian Fleming novels, which we talked about at the beginning, which, you know, I actually enjoyed most of them. They're quite different, a lot of them, compared to the movie.
Yeah.
They're good. They're quite interesting.
But
I like that.
One thing that I do have to say is that when I went to London, I did go to the James Bond Museum.
Oh, wow.
Which was incredible. They had all and he had like different like the suits there, but it dealt mostly with the vehicles. So you got to see all the different vehicles from all the different films. So you would have loved it, Jace.
Yeah.
It was insane. You went down there's 2 stories, and it was I'm not sure if it was just there for a short period of time or not, but it was like going down and seeing like the different like displays, and I got to go in and put on like the tuxedo thing and do like my my Bondian pose. So that was really cool. And at the end of it, there's this like James Bond like gift shop, and that's where I bought the Everything or Nothing documentary at. Actually,
I see.
But I wanted to get so much more there, and it was like my second last day in London, and I'd spent so much money, and I got there, I'm like, God, I wish I hadn't spent so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody ever gets a chance to go there, that Bond Museum, go there.
Yeah, I think there's actually a new sort of, they're doing, I don't know, I've got to read about it again, whether it's in UK or the US, they're having another, I think maybe next year they've got another sort of big exhibition coming with Bond related, so I've got to check further details of that, but I really would love to go to these places and look at these museums. I think I would be spending hours there, and maybe even telling some of the people who work there knowledge, because I built it over so long. So it's a great franchise. And here's Paul. Paul said he's probably watch a Bond movie tonight. I'm in the mood now, thanks to us. So there you go. So he's going to be watching a Bond movie because
I am too.
Yeah, exactly. I think I will be as well later, because that's the thing for someone like Paul who's younger. It's good to see these generations keeping something like Bond alive, because that's what the younger generations have got to do, because it's lasted over 50 years and hopefully it lasts another 50 years or so. Let's see what happens. You never know.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. It's one of the best franchises.
There's always going to be people coming around like to try and well, this can top Bond, and every 5 or 10 years, there's always a new spy movie or something that comes out and says, "Is this the new James Bond?" Like nothing is the new James Bond. Like, would Jason Bourne topple Bond? No, he didn't. Is Mission Impossible the new James Bond? No.
No.
But the Mission Impossible movies are fun, but it's definitely not the new James Bond. But you get that every few years. So there's another spy movie comes out and those like,
like Jack
is this the one's going to topple?
All those sort of like Mission Impossible, Jason Bourne, Jack Reacher. And then they've kind of done little spoofs. I mean, obviously, Austin Powers is pretty much a spoof of the Bond movies.
Austin Powers was fun, yeah.
Yeah, done that. And then, as I said, now they're doing. I mean, there's a lot of spy movies. Basically, the Bond series was responsible putting out spy films and action films.
Oh yeah.
And,
Don't forget the Flint films too, right? In like Flint,
exactly.
with James Coburn, right?
James Coburn, a great. It'll be interesting as a villain maybe or something. Yeah. Hoke said The Spy Who Dumped Me. The film.
I haven't seen it yet. I hear it's okay.
Yeah. Well, the Austin Powers I know is doing another. They're doing a fourth film, but they're basically the characters are all made fun of and everything like that. So. Voodoo magic, gold bond, medicating powers, long lasting. Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to keep taking off. The fans, there's a lot of people who love fans. Need Gore says Bond greater than Mission Possible. I think so.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Way more. I mean, like, there's not how many Mission Impossible movies? There's 6 or 7 Mission Impossible movies in the last 20 years.
I think the first one came in 96. Yeah.
So and James Bond is 62. 1962 was the first James Bond movie. So I think it's proven its place.
That long. There's not many franchises last that long. I mean, yes, Star Wars is pretty long too, but there hasn't been as many movies. We're coming on to number 25. So just changing and moving. Culture Trinity made a joke. In the mood for the November Man, best Bond film. Well, that's a movie starring Pierce Brosnan, but it's not really a Bond film. I think he plays a spy in it. So, and that's the thing. Like a lot of the Bond actors haven't really. I guess Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig, but the others didn't really do a hell of a lot after Bond. I mean, Sean Connery, you could say, did, but the others are probably not well known for other things apart from Bond. That was probably their big thing. Like Timothy Dalton, he did more stage and TV shows, but Bond was probably.
Well, my favorite Timothy Dalton role aside from Bond has got to be Hot Fuzz.
Oh, I love it.
He's great in that with the dark gloves on, like just after someone gets killed. But no, George Lazenby did do stuff afterwards. Of course, he played the Bond style character in a few different films. He went over to Italy. He did a lot of Giallos and films like that. Hussar Dies, actually a really good movie with George Lazenby. Roger Moore did. He did his things as well. He kept working, and he did movies that definitely proved that Roger Moore could do way more than James Bond. And I think Roger Moore's a really good actor.
Oh yeah. Escape from Spina as well.
Oh yeah, and but Dalton was more. He was a serious actor. He was going more for he was going to go more for the stage anyway. You could see that with Dalton.
Shakespearean actor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. And when it comes to Craig, I'm sure Craig is going to do just fine after he leaves the Bond series.
Lucky. He was great at that last year's movie. That was good, and he's done some good things. I mean, he was in Defiance, which was pretty good, as we mentioned before. Layer Cake, which was just before the Bond movies.
Which I recommend if people haven't seen Layer Cake. It's a really good movie to check out.
I can see Craig still doing stuff afterwards, for sure.
Hopefully no more Cowboys versus Aliens.
No, I don't want to. We're not going to be talking about that in the Western Stream. That's not a good movie for Daniel Craig. But I mean, Sean Connery, of course, he even won an Oscar after Bond. Untouchables. He's probably out of all of them, the one that's really done a ton more. He did a lot after Bond. So many different great movies.
He did the worst one though. He did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh yeah, that was his last movie, right? League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Before he retired, yeah. I think it made him retire actually. I think he was that disappointed with it.
But he was in a lot of good Sidney Lumet films and Indiana Jones, of course, The Last Crusade, and as I mentioned, Untouchables. A lot of pretty good movies. So he pretty much carried on after Bond because he was, as I said before, relatively unknown. So definitely helped him.
And even for him, it was harder, right? You just shake off the Bond, as Bond. People were obviously offering him Bond type roles after he left the role of James Bond. Same thing with Roger Moore. People like that, but Roger Moore was known before James Bond. People forget that Roger Moore was the Saint, and was a very popular character. Timothy Dalton too was known. Pierce Brosnan was probably the most known actor to go into the role of Bond with a series Remington Steele.
I guess as well. He did a lot of kind of similar action movies too, but then he did a few other good things that one, the remake, the Thomas Crown Affair, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, he did Mamma Mia, right? And he couldn't sing, but he actually did Mamma Mia. It was a good movie.
A good Western with, and this is heading into the Western stream a little bit. But Terror from Falls with Liam Neeson, he was actually really good in.
Yeah.
That's for another day. But yeah, no, it was great having you on here today. I'm glad we finally, because I mean, the funny thing
Yeah,
is
I
that
know.
the funny thing about this, guys, for all you who didn't know the backstory, I actually planned to do this 2 or 3 years ago when I first sort of met a lot of the YouTubers and Aaron, and I realized Aaron was a big Bond fan like myself, and another YouTuber who's actually retired now, not really doing YouTube, Dina DVD. We actually had it all set up and we started talking about it, but we got cut off pretty quickly because of some internet issues I was actually having on that day. But so this has been almost like 2 years, 3 years.
2 years in the 3 years in the making, almost really.
So, and I know Aaron's kept mentioning in his own live streams, which he'll be back on for his channel probably this week. I'm sure he'll be doing more. So, but it's great to finally do this and talk Bond. And we could be here, like, I know we skimmed through a lot of the movies because there's just so many, but I think we did it pretty well. I think we've gone through a good summation of all of the movies and hopefully given you guys an opinion of the Bond films and the franchise in general.
Yeah, rewatch, Moonraker. Give it another chance. Rewatch a couple of the other ones that you don't that you think you don't like, just to see.
Exactly, guys. So as I said, I know a lot of these some people are just coming in and joining, and as I said, I can link. This could be linked to your channel or whatever afterwards. So on that video that you sort of were mentioning that we're going to be doing it, you can leave the link there later for people to watch back who have missed it, because there's probably a few Bond fans on your particular channel that may enjoy this. So
definitely,
they'll get a kick out of it, and I'm sure next time we might do our Western stream. Next time we get a chance, because that's another genre that I really would love to explore with yourself, and I know you enjoy Western, so.
Oh yeah, I got some really weird Western taste, so that'll be
that's be very different. I think we could be here for a while talking Westerns, because there's so many different genres, and I know you've got it. We've talked about how many different editions, different box sets, and all that. So, John's still saying, glad you and Aaron finally got to do it. Thank you.
We've been trying for a while. So.
Yeah, just the time differences is a problem. I know it's already getting pretty late for you over there, so it's just hard when it is so different and hard to get on at the same time. But we finally figured it out, and as I said, next time we'll find out how to do it on your end. Oh, the Viz has come in. He just said hello to you. I don't know if you remember the Viz.
Oh, hey.
He's come in. Yeah, we've been streaming for a couple of hours now, Viz, on James Bond, because that's my favorite franchise, and I think you're going to learn a lot. So maybe you can rewatch some of this, because I think you guys were streaming a bit earlier. I didn't really see that because I was playing around. I was trying to call Aaron on Instagram, and we're playing around before trying to get on here. So,
trying to work it out.
Exactly. So, no, any sort of final words or anything else you want to say?
Me? Oh, no, I'm just finally glad we were able to get it done. Like 3 years in the making to get this one done. But no, definitely worth it. I like the way that we did it. I like the retrospective going through like that. I think anybody that just came in, go back, watch it. It'll be a lot of fun. You can argue with us and like say, you guys are wrong on this.
Yeah, leave comments below of your like favorites or what do you actually think about. Someone said, I thought your favorite franchise was Crocodile Dundee. No, it's not Crocodile Dundee. But no, this will be even like a good sort of podcast for anyone too, because you don't even have to really watch, because we didn't show a lot. But so even if you're just doing something, you want it in the background to learn about the series, it'd be great. He said, no, we didn't stream tonight. We'll definitely go back and watch. Yeah, thanks for that, Viz, because you probably know Aaron from a long time. He's been on here for a while, so you'll definitely get a lot of knowledge, and hopefully gets a few of you who are not Bond fans of mine interested at least. Give it a chance at least. I know some people have told me I can't get into it. Please give it one more go. At least stream.
There's a good question there, Don. If you were to give one Bond movie, you would say, okay, what would you pick? What would you choose? That's the one Bond movie to go in.
So like telling people, so you're sort of saying like to tell someone.
Never seen it. Yeah, you've never seen James Bond. Somebody's come in. I want to watch a James Bond movie. I've never seen one before.
Good question. I shouldn't go. I don't want to go obvious because obvious I've already mentioned is Goldfinger, or Spy Love Me almost. They're kind of the obvious picks because it's
Yeah.
It's a great question. I almost could. This is maybe a weird choice, but I almost say Live and Let Die for some reason. I don't know. I just think it has something about it. I think it has the elements right. I think it's fun, but almost serious. Got the villains, got the Bond girl, got the song, got the action. I think it's got everything.
Yeah, that actually is a really good choice.
I mean, apart from the obvious that we already mentioned, Goldfinger, Spy Love Me, even GoldenEye, you could probably say, but that's too obvious, like less obvious.
Yeah, those are ones everybody's going to choose, right?
Exactly. So Live and Let Die, and I'll give you another one. Let's see. I guess you could say. I mean, Casino Royale is probably almost another obvious pick.
Yeah, that's like saying Skyfall. Like, those are easy. But
it's For Your Eyes Only could be another one. I mean, that's one of my favorites. I think that has all the aspects of it as well. So, but I'll go Live and Let Die. Yeah.
That's what's going to be my choice, actually.
Really?
But okay, yeah, that's actually going to be my choice because it's for me. It's like that's definitely a personal one for me. But I think it's actually one of the more fun films. But if you're going to choose one, and like you want to just get the Bond feel, there's obviously the obvious ones. You're obviously going to go with Goldfinger or something like that. But like if you're gonna, but if you want to do like if you want to like double feature, you want to do like a couple like that. There's I don't know. I like Iron Majesty's Secret Service. I mean, like, give it a shot. It has a good story to it. Maybe not the best Bond in the world, but Telly Savalas does a great job as Blofeld. And I honestly when I heard that Telly Savalas before I saw the movie was playing Blofeld in it, I said, what the hell? But no, he does a really good job. But no, Live and Let Die is a really good choice. But like if you're gonna go in and you've never seen anything before, maybe the obvious ones are the best ones to go for. Maybe like watching Goldfinger.
Because I don't know if you is your better half. Is she into the Bond movies, or do you show her? Have you showed her the Bond films?
Oh yeah, she was into it like way before she met me. I can't like claim any credit for that. She's a real big action movie fan, right? So like she doesn't watch horror, but she'll watch like the Bond movies with me. She'll watch like that type of stuff. But yeah, like for her too, like well, she's from Morocco, so basically, when you get to see the kind of the different places, it's kind of cool. Yeah. But no, the best Bond, like anybody going in now, like and it's going in to see Daniel Craig, and thinking like the earlier stuff is all going to be like that. They may be a little bit like kind of find the Roger Moore stuff a little bit unusual for some of them. Like you going in to watch.
Yeah, I wouldn't go in like watch View to Kill like first off.
Yeah, don't watch that. Don't let that be your first Bond movie. It might be your last. Don't watch Quantum of Solace first. Yeah, don't let that be your first Bond movie.
Nah, I mean most people like from what I know, like the younger ones may probably have seen like either the Pierce Brosnan or the Daniel Craig ones, but then the sort of more older generation, people in their 30s, 40s, probably more Roger Moore or Timothy Dalton they would have seen. Like I think most of the guys in the chat, Roger Moore would have been the Bond that they were growing up with in the 70s and 80s. So it's like John Steele and Robbie and a few of the other people in the chat.
Well, nothing makes you feel older than when you're talking about like Pierce Brosnan playing James Bond. They're like, did he do stuff before? And I'm like, yeah, he was Remington Steele. And they're like, like, what's Remington Steele? And I'm like, oh god.
Taylor as well. Was that after? Or was that before? I don't remember.
After. Yeah.
That's why it took him so long to sign, because he was doing Remington Steele. That's why, because they wanted him early, but they couldn't get him out of the contract.
Well, a little like kind of like you want a little like kind of a little fast fact. His wife, who actually passed away, she was in a James Bond movie early on, actually.
Sandra Harris.
Exactly.
She was Australian too.
Yeah, and she and the thing is that so he was signed on to do The Living Daylights, and he was supposed to do it, and then they took there's a clause in his contract for another season of Remington Steele if they chose to do so. And at the very last minute, he was already signed on for Bond. They're taking pictures. Everything was getting done. And at the last minute, they took up the clause in the contract, and they said, no, we want to do Remington Steele. They didn't do a TV series like a full season like normally. They did like 3 or 4 TV movies actually,
Right.
and that stopped them from doing Bond for another like 8 years or so.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of good. Maybe I think GoldenEye at the time, it was a good moment for Pierce Brosnan. So maybe it might not have worked.
Yeah.
It was nice to see Timothy Dalton at least have his moment, even though it was short-lived, unfortunately. I think it was good that we get to see that anyway, because Timothy Dalton, yeah, it's just unfortunate. Like it always, when I watch Living Daylights and even License to Kill, it's like, damn, this guy. I want to see another one of his. You know, I really think the third one, as we've sort of mentioned with the other actors, could have been his best. You never know.
Well, the thing is that Living Daylight, when like the reason I like the like License to Kill, that I find it better for me is that it's I really see Timothy Dalton as Bond, like really being Bond in that one, because when they wrote Living Daylights, they wrote for Pierce Brosnan, so there were certain aspects of it that he just had to come in and like do his best with. Like it wasn't written for him, but the License to Kill was written specifically for Timothy Dalton in mind.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, you're right. I think he would have really grown into the role for sure. Like he would have had his own style, and as you said already, he was the closest to Fleming. Like even like looks wise. I mean, because in the books you sort of get a description of what Bond is like, and Timothy Dalton fits that really well.
But yeah, if you've only seen Daniel Craig before, guys, and you want to go back if you're young and you want to watch the Timothy Dalton ones, aren't a bad choice. There's only 2 of them. It's along the serious line of James Bond that you would get later on with the Daniel Craig stuff, and he does a really good job, and it gives you a feel of the books as well. So
Exactly.
yeah, definitely check it, Timothy Dalton.
Ian Fleming, and then just a few comments here. Viz says, I hate Pierce Brosnan, so I always dodge those movies. And Kubrick Lover says, License to Kill, I think, is the worst Bond. Wow. See, this is what I mean. Everyone's got different viewpoints. Yeah, I mean, License to Kill it's interesting to rewatch that now that we've had this discussion and sort of had more thoughts about it. Because that's, to be honest, out of everything today, I'm thinking about that one more than like the other movies. We've sort of pretty much agreed on a lot of the aspects, but License to Kill, yeah, that'd be interesting to go back to.
It's different. I mean, like just like to think that not just the song, great song, but like Benicio del Toro does a great job. Now with Robert Davi is like a very underrated actor too.
Oh yeah, Robert Davi was great.
But yeah, and the fact that it is so personal, it hasn't been that personal sense, and it's the most violent film in the series. If you're a Doctor Who fan, it's the Vengeance of Varos of the Bond series. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts. I kept longer than I planned it to there, but no, that's my final thoughts on the James Bond series. Give Timothy Dalton another try, and give that License to Kill movie another try.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, appreciate you joining today, and as I said, had a lot of fun, guys in the chat. There's Escape to Athena feel like a Bond film. Well, that's more of a war film, Paul. Roger Moore, Telly Savalas is actually in that as well.
Yeah,
yeah, that's an interesting one. And then we got one question here. So we're sort of before we go, who would you guys like to see direct a new Bond film? Ooh, who would you guys like to direct? Okay.
Not Mark Foster, not that much.
Well, I know this guy's always been thrown up. Christopher Nolan. What do you think of that?
As a Bond film, maybe. I mean, it's gonna be a darker Bond film. Like I love Christopher Nolan. I really love Christopher. Like,
read my mind.
But if I was gonna pick anybody, did you see the last Mission Impossible movie?
Yeah, I have.
That guy. Yeah, that guy. That's the last Mission Impossible movie is the best, in my opinion, the best Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
And it's got the best action sequences in any of them. And if anything, it definitely owes a lot to Bond, and especially the helicopter chase done in that film. So if you guys haven't seen the movie, there's a really good helicopter chase where Tom Cruise is going after, I won't say who, but the villain. And there's a big fight like on a mountain, and it's incredible, and it's very tense, and it's very Bondian. So I can't remember the director's name, but the director of the last Mission Impossible movie, I would like to see what he would do with it.
Yep, we've got a few people talking Nolan. Give me a Lars von Trier Bond. That would be interesting. Oliver Stone, maybe De Palma,
Jim Jarmusch is James Bond. There you go.
John Woo. Jeez, that's interesting. How about imagine a Tarantino Bond film?
Oh, well, actually, yeah, I think he could do a good Bond film because he's a guy that like he would definitely like pull things from all kinds of like weird,
He
freaky
would do
movies and stuff.
homages as well. Like you could see, like that would be a great homage to the series as well. Bring back maybe old characters or something, you know.
He would. You would be bring back the most obscure character you can think about.
Exactly. So no, there's a lot of options. It's hard to know. I mean, Sam Mendes is great, but I agree that the guy that I can't remember the name of right now who did the last Mission Impossible movie. I think he might have actually done the second to last one as well. He was great.
I'm
Denis
so
Villeneuve.
looking.
Yeah, go look it up. I just finished these questions. Denis Villeneuve. Yep, he's a good director. The guy that did Prisoners, Blade Runner 2049. My friend wants Hugh Jackman as Bond.
Hugh Jackman. He's a little. I think he may be a little bit older to do the
Yeah.
Bond movie now, but he was a good. He was definitely a good.
Someone said Hardy would be
good
awesome.
choice.
Ridley Scott, James Cameron. That'd be interesting.
Christopher McQuarrie.
Okay, so he's the one that did Mission Impossible Fallout. Right.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow is another good movie they did. Usual Suspects, of course. You know.
Okay.
So,
Who's the guy that did what was those movies? Usual Suspects, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. That's a British director, right?
well, Usual Suspects is Bryan Singer, but you're talking about like Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. Is that Guy Ritchie?
Yeah, I think so. That would be interesting.
It would be frenetic. I'm not quite sure if I want Guy Ritchie to do like Bond, but like Danny Boyle was an interesting choice. So I kind of wanted to see where that was going to go.
Because he's creative differences. So yeah, it's hard. It's like choosing the Bond actor. There's so many good options. So Borat is James Bond, Lionel Richie. Yeah, they're also Fincher. Someone said David Fincher. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's gonna kill off people. I love David Fincher, but fuck Alien 3. just gonna put that out there. You don't kill Newt, man. You just don't kill Newt. I can't. I'm not over that yet.
He's still not over that. Yeah.
I'm still not over the Newt death. But no, yeah.
Even the guys that did the John Wick movies, I love the John Wick films. That would be interesting.
I'm looking forward to part 3 of that one.
Oh yeah, John Wick that's a great character. I love that style.
Well, that was the guy that was the stunt double for Keanu Reeves. It was like
Exactly.
that directed the John Wick movies.
Yeah, he was John Wick. Alien.
That's
3,
how he got him.
with no control over. That's what Kubrick said. Yeah, still he doesn't like it.
Doesn't like which one?
Oh no, Brian said Alien 3. David Fincher had no control over. That's what he's saying.
But David Fincher still would have killed Newt. That's the thing. So I still don't like it either way. Like he could have given him all the control in the world. He still wanted to kill Newt off, and that was, it was a wrong decision. You see, you don't set up a whole movie and then just like say throw it away in the first 5 minutes. And Fincher did that. But yeah, I don't forgive Fincher for that. And I know he didn't have control, but he still, like when he interviewed him, he still would have killed Newt. So no, so Fincher doesn't get a pass. I don't know. Oliver Stone's and James Bond. That'd be different.
That would be interesting. So yeah. I mean, I'm not that. I don't mind Alien 3, but yeah, a few, as you said, a few things they did, including killing Newt, was just unacceptable. What else we got here? Oh, now they're singing song lyrics in the chat. Well, you can sing Bond songs in the chat. So yeah, no, it's Lars von Trier. Okay, I'm just seeing if there's anything I missed. Okay, send it to yeah, I mean, all these directors are interesting. But he said, okay, next Bond girl.
But I think that, I wish Monica Bellucci would have had a bigger part in the Bond film she was in.
Small Inspector, yeah.
They made a big deal over she was be the oldest Bond girl, and Monica Bellucci is gorgeous. Like to this day, she's like super gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
But
would be a good Bond girl. That's a good question. Yes. I have no idea. Just nothing's coming to me.
Good Bond girl. There's like
Like
there's a lot
one,
of good actresses out there.
yeah, it's hard. Even like Bond villain, who would be a good Bond villain? There's always names talked about. Even for this new one, I mean, we haven't got exactly who's going to be the villain. So who would make a good villain? There's so many
And like,
roles.
well, like, and the thing is, like, where do they take it from now? Do they go on with the dark series like James Bond that we've had for the last little while? Are they going to go a
Yeah,
little bit later with Bond in the series coming up? There's a lot of questions that for the next few years are going to kind of go unanswered.
yeah. I'm
Uh,
really
um,
kind of annoyed how it's not coming out next year. I was looking forward to 2019 release, but now 220, so it's a whole nother year.
yeah, but hopefully it'll come out well. I'm a little nervous about like the change in director so late
Yeah,
but I'm hoping that they're gonna like do their best to go like don't fall back on what you did before. Just go forward. Like people like ragged on Spectre a bit, but Spectre couldn't be Skyfall, and Skyfall couldn't be, and thank God, Quantum Skyfall couldn't be Quantum Solace. They got to just take where they're, they got to just keep going forward, and not look back and say, I want it to be more like this or I want it to be more like that. Just
exactly.
go straight. Just make sure it's
Use
a
your
formula film. Just keep the formula going.
keep the formula, but then also implement your own little style, which all the directors have done. Like Sam Mendes, as you've said. So um, that's what you have to do. Keep the We all know the Bond formula. We've already talked about it for the last 2-3 hours. We know what it is. It's all the director has to do. So it's but it is a lot of pressure for the director for sure because there's a lot of Bond fans out there, and there's always expectations. So we'll just have to wait and see. We'll give it another year, and who knows? We might come back here and discuss the new
The new
Bond.
one.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
that would be a lot of fun. So there you
We
go.
just won't pick Uwe Boll as the director.
No, Blake Lively, Anne Hathaway, Michelle Williams, interesting. Lady Gaga.
Actually, Lady Gaga would be really good following the Madonna way.
Yeah, Blake Lively.
Oh,
Betty
Blake
White.
Lively would be excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's still storming up in the chat. Brian, Rennie Harlem. Okay. So something about Rennie Harlem was supposed to direct Alien 3 before that. Okay. That's the Alien franchise talk. That's another stream.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a whole other stream. But no, I think that sort of wraps it up. I think we've done a lot here today. I think it's been fun.
Oh, it has been a blast. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, no worries. Yep. So guys, we're gonna jump off here now. We'll jump off live anyway. And so thanks for watching. For people that just joined, sorry you missed the beginning, but go back. Please do go back and watch the rest of it because you'll definitely get a lot of knowledge from Aaron. He's a professor when it comes to Bond. There's a lot of tidbits and go back for me as well if you want to see what I have to say about the Bond universe.
You're the Bondian dude, man. You're
I think, I think
you're the Bond expert.
I did come across as a bit of a nerd on me here, but that's just the way it is when it comes to Bond. But you had a lot of fun, and thanks for people in the chat. I know there was a little bit of troll trouble earlier on, but we won't mention that. But I
Oh,
used
really?
the Wrench boys got into them, so that was good. And yeah, thanks for coming on, Aaron. I appreciate it, man, and hope to do another stream with you pretty soon, Western stream.
Definitely, and I'll be on sometime later on the week. My better half comes back on Wednesday, so thank God.
Yep. So what I'll do is I'll send you the link for this once it's all done, and you can put it onto that video that you sort of said to come over here. So that way your people can watch you on here talk about Bond, because ideally it would have been good to have it on your channel, but technical difficulties, but that's okay.
No, as long as we got it done.
We got it done, guys. So I'll see you all next time, and there you go. Bye.
Bye.